Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Became the Crow movie. Before we start, please go support thecrowficsYT for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistake in character's gender, but of course Issei is a male. What would happen if you lost the love of your life at the hands of those closest to you? Here we will witness how Issei returns from the dead to do justice to his lost love, Rias Gremory, carrying the vengeful mantle of the crow. Chapter Test, Issei Crow the Ascension. This is a test of a new FIC. I hope you like it. Without further ado, let's get on with the story. A dark night overtakes the city before a horrible feeling of loss. Something that should die comes back to life with hope. That when he is buried again, he will take all those bastards with him. Those damned people who stole her happiness. Those damned people who destroyed their dreams. And those damned people who took him away from his beloved, the only person he could love in his entire life. Both were killed on the orders of a higher being. He never expected a betrayal at the hands of his own people. But that's what happened. Years serving his superiors only to be killed in the worst way, and even worse, seeing the only person I loved die in the process. Now he was on a roof while it was raining with a full-body black leather coat, a black hood, makeup on his face, and a crow on his shoulder. He wanted to ensure that no one could identify him after his death. He had no weapons, so he only came up with one of the few weapons he could use. Daggers of light, unfortunately, were the only things he could steal before they found him, but that didn't matter to him. Now I would show what happens when you take something away from someone. Now I would avenge the person I once loved and also his son. I would make a river of blood with those damned people. Then he saw them walking in a group. They were part of his family, you could say. But now he couldn't have mercy. He had to kill them to find out who sent them and why, and more importantly, who was the bastard who gave that order. Issei, the leader of the group he was in before, walked calmly but cautiously into his apartment, sat down on a chair and was trying not to cry. I didn't know why I wanted to cry. They gave him that order, but he never listened to anyone, so out of nowhere he wanted to obey. While he was fighting with his mind, a dagger of light was embedded in his leg. It was burning and scorching his skin. Then another one fit on his other foot, then his hands. He was sitting with his hands and legs motionless, and they were burning his skin and causing him horrible pain. Then she saw him come in through the window. He couldn't believe it. The boy he was ordered to kill was standing in front of him with a psychopathic face. It's impossible, you're dead. Well, think about it. Sometimes the dead come back if they have a reason. And I have too, Rias and Rias Gremory, my wife and my son. I was really enjoying my pain, so we started talking. Issei. Then you will tell me who gave you those orders, or I will have to do it under my methods. Issei, you're scum, an insect. If you think I'm going to tell you something trash, think better about it. That's why when they gave me the order, I was more than happy to kill your hitch of a wife. He didn't let me finish, giving me 2 cuts in X. I was bleeding so much that I couldn't think straight because I was insulting him so much. I think we were friends, but Issei, then I'll do this. Out of nowhere I touched him and I could see his memories. Then I knew the truth, although I didn't know what would happen after knowing what I was looking for. In reality, it would be something I would never have expected. If you like the FIC, I'll see you in the comments. Until next time. Chapter 1. The beginning of the nightmare. It's been more than 10 long years since they defeated the Trihexa with the joint help of everyone, but especially thanks to the help of the dragon gods, thus being able to seal it again and hide it somewhere in the dimensional gap where only Gred Red and Ophis know, and thus defeating the Chaos Brigade and having an enormous peace during those years. But not everything was tranquility for Issei. Since the girls little by little began to leave him aside, until almost abandoning him, but there was a girl, that girl who never left him aside and was always with him, despite everything, and that girl was Rias Gremory. Rius began to notice little by little how the girls were leaving Issei aside, seeing how Issei felt increasingly sad and alone, she being with him as much time as possible so that he would not feel that way, wondering why the girls did all this. Until they knew the whole truth, since one day where Issei and Rius were on a date of many they already had, watching how the girls were with different men. But what broke Issei the most was that they were kissing with them, and they looked very happy. Issei couldn't believe what he was seeing and decided to escape from that place, being chased by Rius, until they entered a dead end, where Issei began to cry for everything that is happening. Rius couldn't stand it anymore and began to cry with him, telling him that she will never leave him and that she will always be with him no matter what. Several months passed like this, where Issei began to gain the happiness that marked him and telling Rius to please never leave him, since, for him, Rius was his light and that if he lost her he would no longer have a reason to live. She told him that she would never leave him and that the two of them would be together for all eternity. As time passed, Issei began to forgive the girls and saying that if the girls were happy he would be too, showing the maturity he has by saying those words. Several years passed where Issei was increasingly happier, since Rius was always with him, until one day he proposed to her, where Rius accepted without hesitation while shedding tears, being that day very beautiful for both of them. Arriving on their wedding day where they were very happy, since finally they would be together for all eternity, or it was supposed to be that way until it all ended. Underworld, Gremory Castle. In a dark room, illuminated only by the light of the full moon, which passes through the only window, the heartrending cries of a person can be heard. That person was Issei Hayadu, who was agonizing and suffering from Samo's poison, injected into him through a wound caused by an arrow. But above all, he was lamenting the loss of his beloved and his companions. Issei, Rius guys, why did you have to die, why? Crying, flashback. 10 hours ago, human world, Hayadu mansion. Rius, hey Issei, where are you my love? We have to go with my Oni-sama, since he just called us for a mission of utmost importance, and we have to go to find out the details of the mission. Issei, my love, are you listening to me? Rius searched the entire house, trying to find Issei, but she couldn't find him, until she happened to find her sister-in-law. Sarah, what's wrong Rius-chan? Sarah is a beautiful woman, almost rivaling Rius. She is a woman with fair skin, somewhat short stature, light brown hair and green eyes. She is Issei's adoptive sister, whom her parents adopted once they ran into her on the street. Sarah tried to survive day after day, since her parents abandoned her when she was 3 years old, and from there Sarah began to fend for herself, sleeping in alleys, eating everything on the street, whether delicious or disgusting, always looking for a job to earn money and thus be able to stay alive. This was for 3 long years. She was walking in the central park of the city, trying to find food when she saw the Hayadu family arrive. They were sitting on the benches in the city park laughing and eating flavored ice cream. Sarah approached Issei's parents with great fear to see if they would give her food, but once she was seen by the parents, the mother was scared by the girl's condition and gave her food, and they also helped in everything they could, giving her clothes, food, money and even a mattress so she could sleep well. As it was every day, Sarah always went to the Hayadu family's house to see if they would give her food, which always happened. Until Issei's mother got fed up with how the girl lived and told her that if she wanted to live with them and be adopted by them, so that she would have parents and a brother who would love her with all their hearts. She happily accepted while shedding tears, and since that day, Sarah lives with the Hayadu family, being Sarah Hayadu. As time passed, Sarah began to grow very fond of Issei to the point that she once said that, if Issei was no longer in this world, she would never smile or be happy again, demonstrating the immense love and affection she has for her Oni-chan Issei. Rius, I'm looking for Issei, but I can't find him? Do you happen to know where Sarah-chan is? Sarah, Yeah, I just saw him sleeping in his room a while ago. I think he's there. Why don't you look for him and see if he's still there? Thoughtfully, Rius, thank you, Sarah-chan. You're my salvation. Issei, my love, wake up now. Rius arrived at Issei's room to wake him up, and once she approached Issei, she gave him a sweet kiss on the lips. Issei woke up reciprocating the kiss from his beloved. Issei, and that's such a sweet way to wake me up, huh Rius? Somewhat sleepy. Rius, it's just that you look so cute the way you were sleeping, and I decided to wake you up that way. Don't tell me you don't like it? Pouting, Issei, no. In fact, I really liked Rius. But well, why did you want me, since I highly doubt you would wake me up just like that? Rius, fufufu, as always so clever love, but yes, in fact, I was looking for you, since my Oni-sama asked me to go on a very important mission and I already told the others and only you are missing for us to go, so get ready now. Remember that you must not make my Oni-sama wait. Perhaps it is a very important mission and he wants us to arrive quickly? Issei, okay, I'll get ready right away. I'll be down in 10 minutes. Getting out of bed. Rius, okay, don't be long, love. She said this as she left the room. After Issei got ready and arrived with the others, He greeted the rest of his companions and they went to the underworld to the Gremory Castle, since Successor was there, who was going to tell them the details of the mission. Underworld, Gremory Castle. Rius, Onisama, we're here. What is the mission you have assigned us? Successor, glad you're here, guys. Okay, I'll tell you everything you need to know about the mission. Ajuka, yes, indeed, these are the details of the mission. A call was infiltrated that is possibly from the Shelter of Chaos, and it is this one. Ajuka plays the call, and the following is heard. Unknown 1. Looks like everything's in order now, right? Unknown 2. Yes, everything is in order now. In fact, everything is north of the underworld. I hope you stick to the plan. Unknown 1. Yes. I will follow our dear Lord's plan to the letter. I will not let them down. Unknown 2. I hope so, don't let us down. Understood. Unknown 1. Yes, sir. Once the conversation is over, the call is ended. Successor, as you may have heard, it seems the Chaos Brigade has a new plan? And it's located north of the underworld. Ajuka, and your duty is to find out and discover what's going on. Okay, the whole Gremory group, Issei, Rius, okay Onisama, we'll investigate what's going on and return as quickly as we can. Successor, okay Rius Wanchan, be very careful, okay and you guys too, but above all Issei and I entrust my Wanchan to you a lot. Issei, don't worry Successor-sama, nothing bad is going to happen to Rius. Successor smiles at what Issei told him and just says goodbye to the rest of the boys. Ajuka, good luck guys, and remember, once you know what's going on, return to the castle and inform us what's going on. All Gremory group, okay. Everyone left the room and headed towards the coordinates Ajuka gave them. 1 hour later, northern underworld forest. Kiba, I think it's here? According to the coordinates, this should be the north of the underworld. Gasper, yes, in fact, it is here Kiba-senpai. These are the coordinates that Ajuka-sama gave us. Zenobia, then we should start looking for something out of the ordinary. Rius, wait guys, don't you find it strange that those from the Shelter of Chaos let one of their calls be leaked so easily, just like that? Gasper, indeed, Rius Wansama is right. Is it very suspicious? Asia, Rius Wansama is probably right. Issei, now that you mention it, are you right? Akeno, perhaps you didn't think that your call would be leaked? Kiba, I highly doubt it, but still, stay tuned for everything. Okay, everyone nodded at Kiba's words and remained alert to anything that moved. Suddenly, Kaneko became somewhat serious and said the following. Kaneko, I feel several presences approaching our position. Rossweisse, stay alert, this could be a dangerous enemy. Suddenly, they see some men approaching in the distance, but when they realize who they are, they lower their fighting stance and relax. Vala, looks like we're here yet? He said this as he descended from the sky with the rest of his companions. Kuroka, yes, mine. Lefay, I'm glad you're okay, guys. This was said with a sigh of relief. Irina, what a relief it's you, she said this while letting out a sigh. For a moment we thought you were enemies. Rius, what are you doing here? Azazel, Successor-sama sent us as support. Issei, Successor-sama didn't say anything about reinforcements, much less that it was going to be you. Arthur, they said it out of the blue, as they thought they would need an extra hand. Biko, but anyway, we're here now and we're going to start checking out the surroundings of this place. Azazel, since Successor-sama sent me as well, I'll be in charge of the mission. Okay, Rius/Vala, no problem/ as you wish. Azazel, good. Once everyone calmed down, Azazel divided them into 4 teams, and these are, the first being Rius, Issei, Akeno, Azazel. The other team was Kiba, Zenobia, Gasper, and Asia. The third team was Rossweisse, Valley, Kuroka, and Kaneko, and the last team was Biko, Arthur, Fenrir, Lefay, and Irina. Once the teams were organized, they split up to cover more ground and complete the mission more quickly. But what they didn't know was that something very bad was coming that would change the lives of everyone present. An hour later, Issei, we've been searching for over an hour, and we haven't found anything. Rius, calm down, my love. Let's ask the others, see if they had better luck than us. Have you guys found anything? Why haven't we? Valley, all quiet around here. Kiba, same here. Lefay, I'm sorry to say Rius-sama, but neither are we. Rius, damn. Azazel, maybe it was just a false alarm. We'd better get out of here and let the rest of the leaders know what's going on. He said this thoughtfully. Issei, I think you're right, Azazel-sensei. Drake, be careful, partner. I have a very bad feeling and that's not good at all. This was said in Issei's mind. Issei, okay, Drake, I won't let my guard down. He also said this in his mind. Rius activated the communicator and told everyone to gather at the meeting point to leave the forest. Suddenly an explosion is heard, near the position of Lefay's team, then another where Vala's team is and another near Kiba's team. Rius, are you guys okay? Issei, what were those explosions? Akeno, I don't know. Azazel, apparently it was a trap. It seemed strange to me not to have found anything. Issei, be careful Rius. Issei throws Rius out of the place, as a bomb was about to explode near her, but Issei, unable to escape in time, activates the armor. Dragon, balance breaker. Suddenly a huge explosion occurs, causing great disasters in the forest. Issei, that was close. He said this while leaving the rubble caused by the explosion. Drake, you don't even have to say it, mate. Azazel, take cover. As everyone takes cover, Azazel activates the communicator and gives the order to take cover and gather at the assembly point. After the bombardment ended, thousands of demons, fallen angels, and other rogue creatures could be seen in the distance marching toward their position. Azazel, shit! Get together, everyone, now! If they catch us separated like this, it will be harder for us to fight them, especially since there are so many of them. Once they all gathered at the meeting point, each of them began to fight the huge army of enemies in front of them. Vala, this will be so much fun. Guess how long will they last? Albion, don't be too confident, Vala, they might surprise you. Vala, I highly doubt it, but I'll still be careful. Activating his armor. Albion, balance breaker. Issei, Valley, I propose a challenge to you. Valley, I'm listening. Haidu. Issei, let's see who eliminates the most enemies and whoever wins pays for everyone's lunch. Vala, deal. Drake / Albion, pair of fighting addicts / pair of idiots. Drake, just don't get too confident, because if one of you gets hurt we'll have less chance of getting out of this place unharmed. Albion, I say the same. Everyone else stares at them with a drop of sweat on the back of their heads, and even some of the enemies had the same reaction. Kiba, what can you do? Heaving a sigh of resignation. Azazel, after all, they are dragons and dragons are addicted to fighting and proving who is better. Asia, I just hope they don't go too far and cause too much damage. Sighing, enemy, don't get distracted or I'll kill you, little cockroach. Slashing vertically towards Asia. Irina, Asia, be careful. Asia turns around to see how a demon was about to hurt Asia with a sword, but the sword was stopped by Irina's holy sword and then cuts the demon's body in half. Irina, are you okay? Asia, Asia, fine, thanks Irina. Irina, that's great. Zenobia, now don't get distracted, we have many more enemies to defeat. After those words you can see how each of the members is defeating each of the enemies. Kiba and Arthur cutting them in half, Zenobia and Irina destroying them with Exdurandal and the Holy Sword, Akeno and Rius disintegrating them with the Holy Lightning and the power of destruction, Lefay and Rossweisse with magic, Kuroka and Kaneko with their respective powers, Issei and Vala destroying them with their energy shots, Gasper supported them with his demons of darkness. Asia healed them from the wounds that were caused by the fight, Azazel with his spears of light pierced them and Fenrir dismembered them with his bites. This was how things went for a while, until little by little the enemies began to fall rapidly due to the devastating attacks of our protagonists. After all the enemies fell, you could see how each of our protagonists was very tired from the fight, but coincidentally the only ones who weren't that tired were Azazel, Valley, Arthur, Biko, Fenrir, Akeno, Asia, Zenobia, Irina, Rossweisse and Kaneko. While the others were very tired and almost reaching their limit. Kiba, that was very close, any more and we'd probably be badly hurt. Issei, don't even mention it, I thought we were never going to end. Kuroka, but it's good that everything ended with me. Gasper, I think that it's all over now. Lefay, it seems so. Rius, don't you find all this suspicious? Kiba, what do you mean Rius-sama? Rius, well the call that my Oni-sama and Ajuka-sama were able to detect was clearly a trap to make us come specifically to this remote place and to be able to ensnare us. But why specifically to this place? But above all, for what purpose did they do all this? After Rius finished speaking, everyone began to think, as they wondered, Why was the Chaos Brigade doing all this? But above all, what was their main objective? Akeno, it's time for the plan to begin. She said this in a whisper, raising her hand, as if giving a signal all behind everyone's back. As everyone finished questioning the actions of the Chaos Brigade, in the enormous silence that existed, a projectile could be heard being fired from some unknown place in the forest, heading at high speed towards Issei. Kiba, cuidado Issei-kun. Issei, what the? Issei could not dodge in time the projectile that was going at great speed, since he felt like his body could not move for some reason, leaving Issei totally unprotected and causing the projectile to hit his chest and go through it, revealing how the projectile was an arrow with a purple tip and liquid coming out of it. Issei, no can it be? He said this while taking out the arrow from his chest. Rias/Kuroka/Lefay/Kiba/Gasper. Miyamur! /Ici-chan/Sama/Kun/Senpai. Flashback to 5 minutes ago. A stranger wearing a hood that obscured his face could be seen hiding behind some trees, out of sight of others. Apparently waiting for a signal to act. Unknown, I just have to wait for the signal they're supposed to give me to fire the arrow. I mustn't miss this one shot, or I'll ruin everything. You see, they told me the one who would give me the signal was that black-haired girl wearing that priestess outfit. He said all this in his mind. The stranger waited patiently for the signal to shoot, until he saw the black-haired girl raise her hand and make a shooting gesture. Unknown, that's the sign. In his mind, the man pointed his bow at Issei and shot the arrow. It was at that moment that Akeno cast a magic spell to keep Issei from moving, ensuring he couldn't dodge the arrow. He watched as his shot hit the target and let out a satisfied smile. Unknown, I got it. Now I just have to escape from the place. The stranger began to run at great speed, escaping from the place where he was hiding. End of flashback scene 2. Everyone who screamed went to help Issei. Kiba and Gasper lifted him up, while Rius, Kuroka and Lefay used magic to heal the wound on his chest. Issei, damn. He said this while vomiting blood. Drake, hang in there, buddy. Rius, don't talk my love, let me and the others heal you. Girls, don't stand there and come help us. Trying to heal Issei's wound with Kuroka and Lefay. Asia, don't stand there watching and come here, Issei needs you. You guys too. Help us please, guys. The rest of the group did nothing and just watched, seeing how Issei was suffering from the wound on his chest. Azazel, it's time. As Azazel finishes speaking, you can see how the others begin to charge their attacks and throw them at Issei while he was injured. Kiba, what the hell are you doing? Trying to deflect the attacks with his holy demonic sword, which were going towards Issei. Gasper, what are you guys doing? Trying to stop the attacks with the power of his sacred gear. Kuroka, if this is a game or some kind of joke, stop it already. Deflecting some attacks, while healing Issei. Lefay, guys please stop. And help us heal Issei-sama instead. Parrying the attacks with protective magic circles while healing Issei. The others ignored him and just kept attacking, not only Issei but also those who were trying to defend Issei. But they could barely do so, since they were very tired from the fight they had with the army a while ago. Rius, what the hell are you doing? She said this while deflecting the attacks, but she also couldn't deflect them all because she was too tired from the fight earlier. Akeno, oh my, it seems you still don't realize? Oh yeah? Rius, what do you mean, Akeno one-san? Akeno, it's easy, my dear one-sama, we're betraying them. After those words that Akeno said, you can see how everyone is fighting each other. Kiba fighting against Irina, Zenobia and Arthur. Gasper defending Issei with the darkness demons while he attacked Biko and Fenrir. Kuroka attacking Kaneko and Vala with her Nikomata powers. Lefay defending Issei with protection magic circles while he fought with Rossweisse and Azazel, and Rias healing Issei while he fought against Akeno and Asia. Issei was lying on the ground trying to stand up, but he couldn't because of the wound he still had on his chest, watching as his friends were fighting each other, some wanting to kill him without knowing why and others wanting to protect him even though they were fighting against their own friends too. Watching as Rias tried to heal him while fighting with Akeno and Asia, being helped by the demons of darkness sent by Gasper and being surrounded by a protective magic circle by Lefay even though he was also fighting against Rossweisse and Azazel. Issei, guys, what are you doing? He wants to try to stand up and vomit blood at the same time. Issei couldn't hold on any longer thanks to the wound in his chest and the blood he'd lost. He fell unconscious on the forest floor, or what was left of it, leaving only his friends trying to protect him. Drake, hang in there, buddy. Shit! That arrow must have had some kind of special poison in it. What kind? Buddy, hang in there a little longer. Watching Issei fall unconscious from the wound and massive blood loss. They were like that for a while, until those who were protecting Issei were slowly losing ground due to fatigue and the wounds they had from the previous battle with the army, and the fight they were fighting now. Kiba, Rias-sama, get out of here with Issei-kun, while I buy you 2 time to escape from the place. Defending himself from the attacks of Zenobia, Irina and Arthur. Zenobia, as if I'd let you do that. Giving a vertical slash towards Kiba. Kiba manages to defend himself and gives a horizontal slash to Zenobia, while jumping to avoid Irina's attack, but he didn't see the vertical slash that Arthur gave him, causing a wound to Kiba's chest. Kiba, ah damn! Grabbing the wound he has. Rius, Kiba Oni-san. She said this with a worried tone and dodging an attack from Akeno. Kiba, Rias-sama. Get out of here with Issei-kun, now! Dodging Zenobia and Arthur's slashes. Gasper, Rias-sama, please leave here, I'll buy you enough time to escape with Issei-senpai. Attacking Biko and Fenrir with the demons of darkness. Rius, I won't leave you here while you sacrifice yourselves to give me time to escape, I'll fight alongside you. Throwing several spheres of the power of destruction at Asia and Akeno. Gasper, please Rias-sama, escape from here with Issei-senpai. I don't care if I have to die, since that's what Issei-senpai would do. He would always sacrifice himself for his friends, and according to him that's what a true man would do. And I am a man. While creating more demons of darkness and sending them to the rest of the others, to attack them and buy some time. Kiba, Kuroka-san and Lefay-san, leave here with Issei-kun and Rias-sama, Gasper-kun, and I will buy you some time. While creating more holy demonic swords and throwing them towards the others, to also buy time. Gasper, go now. I'll freeze you so you can't move, to give you enough time to escape. Kuroka/Lefay, okay. /yes. Grabbing Rius and an unconscious Issei and escaping the place. Rius, guys, nuh. Trying to get out of Kuroka's hands, to help Kiba and Gasper. Kuroka, don't be silly, Rius-chan. We must take advantage of the time they'll give us, to escape from here and be able to cure Issei-chan. Trying to hold Rius tighter and moving away from the place. Azazel, they're escaping. Damn, that vampire won't let me move. After a couple of seconds, the rest of them could move, since Gasper couldn't hold on any longer and stopped freezing time. Gasper, I hope it's enough time for them to escape. Kiba, don't worry, Gasper-kun, if it wasn't like that, we'll give them the time they need. Valis/Akeno, they won't escape. / will go after them, we won't let them escape. Azazel, hurry up. Kiba, I won't allow it. Creating more holy demonic swords and throwing them at the rest. Kiba and Gasper were doing their best to hold off the others' advance and buy more time for the girls to escape, but they couldn't handle everyone, causing Vala and Akeno to chase after the girls. Meanwhile, with the girls, Rius, Kuroka-chan, put me down right now. Should we help them? We can't let them sacrifice themselves. Pulling her strength out to get out of Kuroka's arms. Lefay, please Rius-sama. We must leave here so we can cure Issei-sama. While making teleportation magic circles to escape, but for some reason it wasn't possible to create one. Rius, but stops applying force to free herself. Kuroka, but nothing, Rius-chan. I also want to stay and fight, but in our current state we won't be able to do anything. Come on, Lefay, make a teleportation circle to get out of this damn place. Running even faster. Lefay, that's what I'm trying to do, but it won't let me create one. Kuroka, damn, Rius, but, Kuroka, Rius, please understand. They made the decision to stay and fight and give us some time to escape, and our duty is to fulfill their last wish. Oh, will you let their sacrifice be in vain? Rius didn't want to leave Kiba and Gasper to fight alone, but when Kuroka said those words, Rius understood that both Kiba and Gasper decided to sacrifice themselves to give them time to escape. Rius, with all the pain in her heart, reluctantly accepts that she must follow and fulfill their last wish. Rius, you're right, Kuroka-chan. As their king, I must fulfill the will of my servants. After those words, you can hear how several attacks are launched at them, preventing the girls from advancing and forcing them to retreat to avoid a dragon shot from Vala and a holy beam from Akeno. Akeno, oh, we almost missed them. Rius, what did you do to Kiba and Gasper? She said this while charging several spheres of the power of destruction, to launch them at any moment. Valley, we have nothing, since they continue fighting with the others and we decided to leave them to the rest, while we went for you. Suddenly a large explosion can be seen in the distance behind them, right in the location where Kiba and Gasper were fighting. Valley, apparently those guys' fight is over. Rius, Kiba, Gasper, I hope you're okay, and if not, I won't let your sacrifice be in the bathroom? Almost whispering, flashback 5 minutes ago. Kiba, damn it, Vala and Akeno are after the girls. This he said while jumping to dodge a spear from Azazel and a horizontal slash from Arthur. Gasper, there's no other choice, Kiba-senpai. At least we have to buy as much time as possible by fighting them. He said this while creating more demons of darkness and ordering them to attack the rest. Kiba, you're right, Gasper-kun. Launching himself at Zenobia and Irina. Biko, apparently they think they can take us all on. Zenobia, is that it, or are they underestimating us? Azazel, it doesn't matter, just attack. We have to finish as quickly as possible to kill Issei. Asia, please give up now. I don't want you guys to get killed. Kiba, it's too late to say that, Asia-san. Dodging a blow from Biko and slashing Irina vertically, cutting her torso. Irina, holding her wound. Kiba, time to pull out my trump card. Balance broker. Kiba raises his sword to the sky as he says those words. Kiba activates his balance breaker, creating thousands of dragon soldiers with sacred demonic swords of different elements, and ordering them to attack the others, while Gasper also ordered to attack the others with his demons of darkness. The others were only defending themselves from the brutal attacks launched by Kiba and Gasper. Irina and Arthur were cutting several armors in half. Zenobia and Fenrir were destroying the demons of darkness. Azazel with his spears of light pierced the armors. Biko hit the demons. Rossweisse threw spells at the demons. Kaneko hit the armors and Asia healed the wounded nearby. Arthur, there are too many of them. If we keep this up, they'll probably kill us. Avoiding being devoured by the dark beasts. Rossweisse, just hang in there, they're all tired from the fights before. It's just a matter of time before they give out. Dodging a blow from a dark demon. Just as Rossweisse said, Kiba and Gasper were starting to tire, making their summons weaker and making it easier for the others to take them out. Kiba, shit! I'm starting to get tired. Gasper, me too. Kiba, it's all or nothing, Gasper-kun. It's time for our final attack. Gasper, okay. The two began charging their final attacks, with Kiba launching a large sword made of pure holy demonic swords and Gasper launching a massive ball of pure darkness. After finishing their attacks, they launched them at the others. The rest of the others, after launching the final attacks, a huge explosion can be seen rocking the entire forest. Kiba, I think we made it? He said this while letting his guard down and leaving himself unprotected. Zenobia, don't claim victory. She said this as she went after Kiba and pierced his chest with Exdurandal. Kiba, but how did they manage to survive that attack? He said this while vomiting blood. Rossweisse, that was thanks to me, as it gave me time to make a very powerful shield, thanks to the combined strength of all of us. Gasper, Kiba-senpai, node. Sending some dark beasts to try to save Kiba, but they are quickly destroyed by a horizontal slash from Arthur. Azazel, don't get distracted, little vampire. This he said while piercing Gasper in the chest with a spear. Gasper, it can't be. Spitting blood. After Zenobia pierces Kiba with Exdurandal, she begins to thrust the sword deeper and slowly twist it, causing Kiba to let out more pain, causing Kiba to let out ear-piercing screams and writhe in pain, drawing a lot of blood at the same time. After Zenobia gets bored of Kiba's screams, she slowly pulls the sword out of Kiba's body, causing Kiba to fall onto the ground with a thud and start vomiting a lot of blood. Kiba, gasp here, whispering the words and spitting blood on the ground. Meanwhile with Gasper, after being pierced by Azazel's light spear, Azazel begins to spin the spear and making Gasper scream in pain. Azazel creates more spears and begins to pierce him in the hands and legs, causing him to scream even louder. After Azazel gets bored of playing with him, he slowly pulls out the spears, leaving Gasper very injured. After the two were subdued, they began to beat them, almost to death, leaving them to say their last words. Kaneko, what will be his last words? Kiba, that I don't regret having met Rius One-sama and Issei Kuin, or rather Issei Onisama. Spitting blood on the ground. Zenobia, how romantic, Kiba-san, but your time has come. Preparing her sword to pierce him through the heart. Kiba, I hope you were able to escape. Rius Issei Gasper, and especially Tsubaki, I love you. He said this in his mind while closing his eyes. Zenobia, just die. Piercing Kiba in the heart, and dying with a big smile. Gasper, no Kiba-senpai. Crying and spitting blood. Biko, don't worry, little vampire, you'll be reunited with him soon too. Preparing his cane to hit him on the head. Say your last words, little vampire. Gasper, I think that my time has come. Well, at least I'll die happy since I fulfilled my senpai's wish, which was for me to become a man, and I think I succeeded. Rius Issei Kiba Kuroka Lefay, thank you for being my friends. Thank you really, and by the way, Valeria, I love you. He said this in his mind, and as he finished those words you can see how he makes a big smile and closes his eyes. Biko, die now, little vampire. Hitting Gasper on the head with his cane and smashing it in the process. Azazel, well, we're done here. We just have to see if Vala and Akeno manage to finish off the others. Suddenly an explosion can be seen in the distance, in the same direction where Vala and Akeno went to chase the rest. End of flashback scene 3. Kuroka, Vala-kun, why are you doing all this? Isn't Issei supposed to be your rival and best friend? Vala, I don't know what you're talking about. Kuroka, wasn't Hayato my best friend? In fact, I hate him, since I should be the most powerful celestial dragon and Hayato is preventing me from achieving that goal. That's why he must be eliminated. Kuroka, I don't recognize you anymore. Vala-kun, Vala, I don't care. Kuroka, Lefay, take Rius-chan and Issei-chan away from this place. I will give you enough time to escape from this place. She said this while charging magic spells reinforced with her Nikomata power. Lefay, what the? I won't let you sacrifice yourself. I'll go with you, since you're my best friend. While carrying magic circles. Kuroka, no Lefay-chan, I must be the distraction, so you can escape with Rius-chan and Issei-chan. Lefay, but, Kuroka, listen to me, I'm the only one who can keep up a fight against Vala-kun and Akeno-san, since Rius-chan can't fight anymore. Because if she continues like this, she'll start to hurt him. Rius, maybe you? Kuroka, you are mine. Lefay, okay, let's go. Rius-sama. If we stay here, we'll just be a hindrance to Kuroka One-sama. Crying. After Lefay said those words, Kuroka felt a great happiness, since for Kuroka, Lefay was like a sister, and knowing that Lefay also considers her as his sister, is something that fills her with happiness and sadness as well, since she will never hear Lefay say those words to her again, and Kuroka could not bear it anymore and begins to shed tears. Kuroka, Lefay, crying. Thank you for being my best friend. Take care of yourself and save them, please, I trust you. Launching herself at Vala and Akeno. Lefay, yes, I promise you. Kuroka One-sama. Grabbing Rius and Issei to escape and walking away from the place while she sheds tears. Rius, thank you. Kuroka-chan. I don't want to leave you alone, but as you told me, it's everyone's duty to fulfill the last wish of the people, and I will fulfill your last wish, which is for us to escape. Goodbye. Kuroka One-chan. Shedding tears as she ran faster, to escape. Lefay, I'll never forget you. Kuroka One-sama. Whispering the words and walking away. After Rius finished those words, Rius and Lefay start running as fast as they can, getting away from the confrontation that Kuroka is having with Vala and Akeno, to gain time so they can get out of this place. Akeno, where are you going? Trying to chase Rius and Lefay. Kuroka, you're not leaving here. Casting several spells to force Akeno back so she can't chase the girls. Akeno, damn it, I can't go after them. Dodging Kuroka's attacks. Vala, I'll take care of Kuroka, so go after them. Throwing several energy blasts at Kuroka, to distract her and make Akeno go after the others. Kuroka, damn, if I keep going like this, Akeno-san will go after them. Trying to dodge Vala's attacks, Kuroka, being very tired, loses her balance and causes a sphere of energy from Vala to hit her, causing a smoke screen, where Akeno took advantage of Kuroka's distraction and filled behind the girls. Valley, it's Akeno now, don't let me down. Throwing more attacks at Kuroka, to create more smoke screens so she can't see where Akeno is going, so she can't stop her. Kuroka, it can't be. Akeno-san managed to escape and goes after the girls. I hope it was enough time for them to escape or at least to hide. Coming out of the smoke screens, which were caused by Vala's attacks. Valley, it's just you and me now, so prepare for your death, because you're not getting out of this place alive. Launching himself at Kuroka, hitting her in the stomach and sending Kuroka flying several meters. Meanwhile with the girls, Rius, come on Lefay, Issei is starting to get really cold. Running faster so she can heal Issei. Lefay, if you Rius-sama. Running faster. Rius, come on my love, please hold on a little longer. Hugging Issei tighter. Hey Drake, do you know what's happening to Issei? Watching the boosted gear materialize on Issei's arm. Drake, actually, Rius-san, I'm currently channeling all my energy into my partner's wound, since the poison that was injected into him through the arrow, and I think you wouldn't like what poison it is. With a nervous voice. Lefay, excuse me, Drake-sama, but what poison is it? With a nervous voice and somewhat scared of what might happen to Issei. Drake, well, the poison in his system is Samuel's poison, and I'm currently doing everything I can to prevent the poison from spreading beyond his wound and into his entire body. Somewhat tired from all the energy he's putting into preventing the poison from circulating throughout his body. Rius, I see Lefay, hurry up, since we don't have much time. Running faster. Suddenly you can see how Akeno launches several electricity attacks at them, preventing them from advancing further and retreating to avoid being damaged. Rius, looks like Kuroka One-chan couldn't hold them off much longer. Staring at Akeno, Akeno, you're wrong, Rius One-sama. I was able to escape. Valakuen is still fighting Kuroka-san as we speak, and Valakuen gave me the chance to go after you all and end this once and for all. Charging several holy lightning bolts and throwing them at the girls. The girls narrowly dodge the devastating holy lightning bolts and take cover to avoid Akeno's other attacks, while Rius leaves Issei in a safe area so she can start attacking Akeno and begins to throw several spheres of the power of destruction at her, and Lefay several spells of various elements. But Akeno dodges them very easily and throws more attacks at them. Rius, damn it! If we keep this up, it's just a matter of time before Akeno kills us. Lefay, grab Issei and get out of this place now. Casting several elemental spells at Akeno. Lefay, I won't. I promised Kuroka One-sama that I would protect her along with Issei-sama, and I won't break my promise. Launching several attacks at Akeno. And what's more, Kuroka One-sama said that you couldn't fight anymore, since you would start to get hurt. Rius, damn, that's right, Lefay. Trying to dodge several of Akeno's attacks while she launched her own. Lefay creates several magic circles of different elements and begins to throw them at Akeno, but she dodges them with some difficulty. But she did not see that Rius was approaching her from above and giving her a great kick that sends Akeno flying and crashing into some trees. Akeno manages to recover after the impact and launches several attacks at Rius, but being repelled by some of Lefay's protective magic circles. They were like that for a while until a huge explosion could be seen in the distance near the position where Kuroka was fighting. Rius, Kuroka One-chan, I hope you're okay, and if not, I won't let your sacrifice be in vain. She said this while clenching her fists due to the enormous anger and frustration she felt at that moment. Akeno, looks like Valakuen is done for? Well, all that's left is you two, and this will all be over. She said this mockingly while carrying several holy lightning bolts. Lefay, Kuroka One-sama, whispering cases. Flashback 7 minutes ago. Kuroka gets up from the rubble that was caused by the impact and charges several spells and throws them at Vala, which he dodges without any problem. But what he didn't see was that the spells were a trap and hitting him in the chest and breaking the armor in the process. Vala, that didn't I see that coming? While wiping the blood from his mouth and rebuilding his armor. Kuroka, fighting isn't all about brute force. You also have to know how to strategize to win, and that's something you don't quite understand. Charging up several spells to throw at Vala. Vala dodges Kuroka's attacks with great difficulty, causing her to cover herself with several protective spells, after Kuroka stopped launching her attacks due to exhaustion. Vala takes advantage of this time while Kuroka was recovering from fatigue and gives Kuroka several blows, causing her to spit up a lot of blood and crash into some rocks. Kuroka, if I continue like this, is it just a matter of time before Vala kills me? Wiping the blood from her mouth and dodging some attacks that Vala launched. Vala, are you giving up, Kuroka, or do you want to make things harder? Grabbing Kuroka by the head and throwing her into some trees, Kuroka manages to stabilize herself and avoid crashing into the trees, then creates several spells to distract Vala and succeeds, coming out behind him and hitting him several times all over his body, causing Vala's armor to not be able to resist anymore and break into thousands of pieces. But Vala manages to stop a blow that was aimed at his head and giving Kuroka a big blow to the stomach, drawing blood and causing the two of them to fly in opposite directions. Kuroka/Vala, Ahawk. Vala crashing into some rocks and Kuroka into some trees. Vala, damn! I never thought Kuroka was so powerful, and yet she's exhausted from previous fights? He said this while trying to stand up, but couldn't, leaving him unprotected because he couldn't rebuild his armor. Kuroka, I can't hold on any longer. I have to do it now, or I'll never get through this. Creating a massive burst of energy, gathering all her power. It's now or never. Launching the brutal attack toward Vala. Vala was unable to protect himself, as he still couldn't get up from the huge blow Kuroka had given him, and he received the full brunt of the brutal attack, causing a huge explosion and destroying the entire place in the process. Kuroka, did I manage? Trying to look for Vala, but can't find him, causing him to let his guard down, thinking he had killed him. Vala, remember, you should never let your guard down, no matter what happens, and that's something you don't quite understand. Coming out from under the floor where Kuroka was and grabbing her by the neck. Kuroka, but wah, stopping talking, as Vala grabs her by the neck. After Vala grabbed Kuroka by the neck, he began to slowly suffocate her, causing Kuroka to cough from lack of air and begin to struggle to be released. But being very weak, she was unable to free herself. Vala, look at you, you're standing here all bloody, trying to pretend you're a hero by sacrificing yourself for those girls. Squeezing Kuroka's neck even tighter. Kuroka, I don't care about dying here with such that escapen, trying to free herself. Vala, you're useless. Throwing Kuroka into some rocks, causing a huge impact, making her spit out a lot of blood, then approaching her to kill her. Say your last words, Kuroka. Grabbing Kuroka again and lifting her up until she was in front of him, preparing his hand to pierce her chest. Kuroka, I think my time has come? Well, at least I'll die with a big smile, since I managed to buy enough time for the girls to escape. Girls, forgive me for leaving you alone. Preparing to receive the last blow and closing her eyes. Vali, are you done? Die already, Kuroka. Piercing Kuroka through the chest with his hand, causing a large wound that quickly begins to bleed, and slowly withdrawing his hand, then throwing it on the ground, while she bleeds out and slowly dies. Kuroka, thank you girls for always being by my side and never leaving me when I needed you. Kaneko, my sweet Wonchan, it's time for me to leave you and for you to face the consequences of your actions. I have nothing left to say, other than that I will always love you, no matter what you have done. I will always be your One-sama. Goodbye friends. Issei, forgive me for not being by your side. I always wanted you to be the father of my children, but I see that it will not be possible. It does not matter, since I will always love you no matter what happens. Take care, Issei, I love you. She said all this in her mind and stopped breathing and died with a big smile, while a tear escaped from her eye. Vali, I'm sorry, Kuroka, but you interfered with my plans. Goodbye, Kuroka. Turning her back and leaving the place as the air moves her forehead hairs and deactivates her armor. Now it only remains to be seen if Akeno achieves her goal. Albion, Vala? Are you sure you can carry all this guilt on your shoulders? This was said in Vala's mind. Vala, of course, as long as he can take me to my goal, I can take any blame. He said this in his mind. In the distance, a huge explosion can be seen, covering the entire area in the direction the girls were heading. Meanwhile, Vala takes out the wings from his sacred gear and heads toward the explosion to see what's happening. End of flashback scene 4. Lefay, Rias-sama, let me fight Akeno-san. While you escape with Issei-sama, I will buy them enough time for you to escape. Standing in front of Rius and charging several fire spells. Rius, are you crazy? Of course I won't let you fight Akeno-san. She's very powerful, and in your current state, you won't be able to do anything. Standing next to Lefay and carrying several spheres of the power of destruction and throwing them at Akeno, causing several of them to hit her, sending her flying several meters and causing her to crash into some rocks. Lefay, but Rias-sama. Watching Akeno being bombarded fiercely by Rius's attacks and being thrown into some rocks. Rius, please Lefay, grab Issei and get out of here. I ask you as my last wish. This was said while Hera was surrounded by the aura of the power of destruction. Lefay, I won't allow it, Rias-sama. I promised Kuroka one-sama that I would protect her, and that's what I will do. Standing in front of Rius and casting a spell, which forces Rius to back away and gets trapped in a protective barrier along with Issei. I'm sorry, Rias-sama, but I'll be the one to fight Akeno-san, while you must heal Issei-sama. Moving away from the protective barrier and starting to cast several water spells at Akeno. Rius, Lefay, what are you doing? You can't beat her alone. At least let me help you in this fight. Hitting the protective barrier so she can get out and help Lefay. Lefay, please Rias-sama, trust me and go heal Issei-sama, since he needs you to recover. Casting several ice spells at Akeno and causing several of them to seriously damage Akeno. Akeno, damn magician, now you've got me angry. Charging several fire spells to melt the ice and launching herself at Lefay. Rius, it's okay Lefay, I trust you, please don't give up, I'll go to Issei and start healing him. Leaving with Issei and preparing to heal him with magic. Lefay, thank you Rias-sama, I won't let you down. Launching himself against Akeno and having a great fight, where different spells could be seen, being of fire, water, ice, earth, and other elements. Rius went directly to Issei and began to heal him, while Lefay fought against Akeno, slowly healing the wound and watching as it slowly began to close, thanks to the combined efforts of Rius and Drake, to be able to mostly heal the wound. Watching as Issei slowly regained his original color and showed signs of regaining consciousness, as he slowly began to move, until he opened his eyes and began to sit up. Issei, but, what? Where am I? Looking around and seeing that he was in a forest, but not knowing anything about what's going on. Rius, my love, you finally woke up, I was so worried about you, tell me how you feel. Hugging Issei with all her might and shedding tears in the process, but without hurting Issei. Issei, Rius? Where are we? And what's going on? The only thing I remember is that you were fighting with the others, and that's all I remember. Grabbing his head and trying to remember more things. Rius, we're in the forest, north of the underworld, and it's very difficult to explain everything that's happening. But tell me how you feel. With a broken voice and apparently wanting to cry. Issei, kind of okay, but I'm in some pain, and it's hard to move. Trying to move and stand up. Rius, don't get up my love, you're still hurt and the poison hasn't completely disappeared. Grabbing Issei and forcing him to sit back down. Drake, listen to your female companion. Samuel's poison still runs through her veins, and remember that it's just a matter of time before it spreads throughout your body, and the same thing happens to you again like what happened last time. So don't push yourself too hard and try to relax. Issei, what? What do you mean I have Samuel's poison in my body again? But above all, why hasn't it killed me? Isn't the poison supposed to kill me instantly? He said this desperately, waiting for his partner's response. Drake, the reason why it hasn't killed you is because you have a body made by Red, and if that weren't enough, also the power of Ophis. That's why the poison doesn't have the same impact as it did the other time. But even so, it's a matter of time before you succumb to the poison, since not even the dragon gods themselves can survive Samuel's deadly poison. Issei, I understand. Rius, please tell me everything that's going on, please, I beg you. Rius begins to tell him everything that is happening, how Kiba and Gasper sacrificed themselves to buy time and make the girls escape, and how Kuroka also decided to stay to fight against Vala to buy time and make them escape, and how Lefay is fighting against Akeno at the moment. Issei did not take well what is happening, since he felt many emotions. On the one hand, he felt anger and helplessness because he could not do anything to help Kiba, Gasper and Kuroka, and that they are possibly dead, and a great sadness and disappointment for the others, since he gave everything of himself to try to protect them. But apparently they did not know how to value well and decided to betray him in cold blood. Suddenly a loud explosion is heard and the barrier is destroyed, causing Rias and Issei to go out to see what is happening and to see if they can help Lefay fight Akeno. Issei, Lefay, where are you? Trying to find Lefay with Rias' help and finding her in some rubble with some blood and her clothes destroyed. Lefay, Issei-sama is fine. I'm so glad nothing bad happened to him. Being helped up from the ground. Issei, it takes a lot more than that to kill me. Suddenly, Akeno can be seen emerging from some rubble with many injuries and barely able to stand, falling to the ground defeated and breathing heavily. Akeno, mal di ta kama. How could you fight me, even though you were so tired? Not being able to stand it anymore and falling unconscious. Flashback 5 minutes ago. Akeno, are you sure you can take me on? Look at you, you can barely handle magma. Charging several fire spells. Lefay, of course, also charging several water spells. Akeno, HMP? How arrogant are you? Let's see if it's true. Casting her spells at Lefay. Lefay, I'll defeat you, not only to protect Issei-sama, but also to fulfill the promise Issei made to Kuroka-sama. Also casting his spells at Akeno. Later you can see how there is a clash of powers, with Lefay gradually overcome by tiredness and causing her to become careless, so that Akeno could take advantage of that moment and give her a powerful lightning attack and send her crashing into some rocks, so that Lefay comes out of the rubble and creates several spells and throws them at her, causing Akeno to be distracted by the attacks and being surprised and receiving a powerful water attack that sends her crashing into some trees. Akeno, damn, didn't I expect that? Do I have to get serious, or will I be in big trouble? Launching herself at Lefay again and dealing him several ice, fire and earth attacks, causing Lefay to crash into some trees. Lefay, I have to use that spell, even if it's not finished, standing up from his place and disappearing from Akeno's sight. Akeno, are you going to give up now or make things more difficult? Better even do a favor and let yourself be killed, so all this is over. Watching how Lefay disappeared from her sight and putting herself on guard, so that she wouldn't be surprised, seeing how several clones of her appeared and surrounded her while charging several attacks of different elements, and launched them at her, being easily dodged by Akeno, while she finished off the clones. Is that all you have? Seeing that there was nothing around her, Lefay, it's all or nothing. Appearing behind Akeno, while throwing a huge sphere of magic at her and surprising her for not having expected that action from her. Akeno, wait, what? Being hit by the attack, without being able to do anything to avoid it, and causing a huge explosion. End of flashback 5. Issei, I think Akeno-san couldn't resist anymore? Watching as Akeno fell unconscious, then grabbed the girls and moved away from the place and dodged an attack that was coming towards them. Valid. Looks like that useless Akeno couldn't take you guys on. What a disappointment, but it doesn't matter since you're not getting out of here alive. Looking seriously at the others, especially Issei. Wow, you sure are tough, Hayada. Issei, it'll take more than an arrow from Samuel to finish me off. Lefay. Take Rius from this place and escape from here, both of you. But now, activating the armor and rising to the sky, to be at the same height as Val. Lefay. But, Rius, I won't leave you alone, my love. If the three of us fight together, we'll have a better chance of getting out of this. Being surrounded by the aura of the power of destruction, along with Lefay, who was also surrounded by her own aura, ready to fight. Issei, don't be silly, get out of here. If you stay here, you'll only be a hindrance to me. Rius, but... Refusing to go, along with Lefay. Issei, what the hell, Rius, get out of here already. Lefay, take Rius and get the two of you to safety. After those words, Rius couldn't believe that Issei would yell at her like that, since he had never spoken to her like that, beginning to shed tears. But she quickly recovered her posture and understood why her husband had spoken to her like that, thus accepting with all the pain in her heart to leave with Lefay. Rius, okay, But promise me you'll get through this. Leaving with Lefay, Issei, I promise you I'd always be with you on our wedding day, and I'm never going to break it. Watching Rius and Lefay leave the place and get to safety, while watching Vala so he doesn't do anything wrong with them. It seems that only you and I are left, Vala, whom I don't mind, they can leave as far as I'm concerned, after all the main target is you. This he said while activating his sacred gear armor and looking seriously at Issei. After all, if I did something to find them, would you do everything possible to intervene? After all, Hayadu, that's what characterizes you, Issei. It seems you know me very well. But, let's stop all this nonsense and get started. He said this while activating his sacred gear armor and launching himself at Vala. Valley, I agree, Hayadu. Also launching himself at Issei. As Issei and Vala launch themselves, they collide their fists, creating great impacts from their blows, moving away from each other, so that later Issei launches several shots, causing Vala to dodge them and giving him a blow to the stomach and a kick, destroying his chest armor and sending Issei flying to some rocks. But he immediately recovers and hits Vala several times, breaking his chest armor and crashing into some trees. Valley, it seems that even in that state, you can still put up a decent fight, Hayadu. While rebuilding his armor and getting on par with Issei. But is it just a matter of time before you're exhausted? Since the poison is still in your system, it'll slowly weaken you. Issei, I told you it takes more than one arrow filled with Samo's blood to defeat me, and I wasn't kidding. While rebuilding his armor. And maybe you're right? But that's why I have to defeat you quickly, if I want to get out of here alive. Lunging at Vala and hitting him several times, Vala could not stop Issei's attacks, until, due to his carelessness, Vala was able to grab one of the blows, and taking advantage of that moment he was able to give him several blows, so that Issei also took advantage of Vala's carelessness, and taking him by the leg he was able to whip him into several trees and rocks that were in the place, and then throw him far away. Vala managed to recover and launch several energy shots at him, causing Issei to dodge them narrowly, losing sight of Vala, to then be surprised by a kick from Vala and being thrown into some trees. Issei, ah, damn it, I'm starting to get tired, I don't think I can hold out any longer. Drake, recite just a little more, partner. Or you'll break the promise you swore to your female. Watching as Issei regained his strength and dodged a barrage of attacks from Vala. Vala, you know this is starting to bore me. How about we go back to the old days, that day you and I fought for the first time? Issei, what do you mean, Vala? Valley, it's simple, Hayadu. That day I attacked your loved ones so that you would unleash your true power. What do you say we do it again? While looking at a specific area. Let me leave, Hayadu. They never left here, instead they are, behind those trees. Running off in that direction. Issei, wait, what? I won't let you do anything. Also shooting out behind Valley, to stop him. Lefay, Rias-sama. Vala-sama just discovered us and is coming here. Rius, damn. Leaps out of the hiding place with Lefay to avoid an attack from Vala. Valley, they're very slippery, but they can't escape this attack. Launching a huge attack towards them, but being stopped by Issei's body, who managed to deflect the attack. Just like old times, right, Hayadu? Or not? Issei, maybe you're right, but on that occasion, you attacked my friends, and on this occasion, you're attacking my wife, the woman I love the most and one of my friends that I cherish the most in this life. Giving a quick glance to Rius and Lefay. Lefay-chan, make a teleportation circle and take Rius and get out of here. Lefay, okay, Issei-sama. But I need you to buy me some time. Preparing to do one. Issei, take it for granted. While watching Lefay. Alright, Vala, let's get this over with. Lunging at Vala and exchanging blows with him, punching, kicking, and shooting energy beams at each other. Lefay-chan, hurry up. I don't think I can hold on any longer. Dodging several energy beams that Vala threw at him, then being surprised by him and thrown into some rocks. Lefay, I'm working on it, but there's a very powerful spell that's preventing me from creating a teleportation circle. Watching as Issei was stamped into some rocks by a blow from Vala and trying to break the spell to escape. Rias-sama, please help me? If the two of us together try to break the spell, can we have any chance of getting out? Looking at Rius and watching as she approaches her and helps her create a circle. Lefay and Rius were trying to create a circle, but once it was finished it was immediately destroyed. This happened every time they created one, until Rius got fed up and decided to use her power of destruction, so that it would have greater power, which was working, since the circle began to be created little by little, without being destroyed. Lefay, there's not much left, Rius-sama. Hold on a little longer. Seeing how the circle was almost completed. Do we have to give it our all, Rius-sama? Is it all or nothing? After those words the circle began to glow a very intense crimson red, until it was completed. We finished it. We only have 10 seconds before the portal is destroyed. Seeing how the circle became increasingly unstable. Rius, let's go now. Issei, my love, the portal is ready, let's go now. Then they see how Issei fell at great speed towards the ground about 20 meters near where they were, and then they see how he was very injured and barely his armor covered him. Issei, my love, no. Trying to go with him, but being grabbed by Lefay preventing him from going. Lefay-chan, what are you doing? Do we have to go with him? Lefay, no, Rius-sama. He said he'd catch up with us later and the circle can't hold on any longer. Dragging Rius to the portal to leave. Rius was dragged by Lefay towards the portal to escape, without her being able to do anything, seeing how Issei was very hurt and barely able to get up. Issei, Rius, love, go now. I'll see how to get out of this, just trust me. Seeing Rius as she tried to get up from the place. Rius was between a rock and a hard place, since on one hand there was the opportunity to escape and be safe, but on the other hand she was going to leave her husband, the man she loves with all her life and the one who always protected her no matter what. Seeing how Vala was preparing to give the final blow, since he had taken a sword from a pocket dimension and was getting ready to stick it in Issei's heart. Rius made a decision, which was to save Issei, gathering all her strength to get out of Lefay's hands. Rius, Lefay-chan, I've made a decision, which is to save my husband, so go yourself and get to safety. Getting out of Lefay's hands and running towards Issei. Lefay, wait, what? Seeing Rius slipping out of his grasp, then running away. What are you doing with Rius-sama? Trying to grab Rius again, but the portal started to drag her away, leaving her unable to do anything, so after she was teleported the portal was destroyed. Vala, you were a great rival, Hayato. Taking out a sword from the pocket dimension. But everything that has a beginning has an end, and this is yours. Dashing out at full speed to find Issei to stab him in the heart. Die now, Hayada! Being a few meters away from Issei, but being stopped by someone, Issei had closed his eyes to prepare to receive Vala's blow, but after seeing that he didn't feel anything, he decided to open his eyes, to see something he never wanted to see since Vala's advance was stopped by Rius, who had stopped the advance with her own body, being pierced in the stomach by Vala, then coughing blood and Vala removing the sword from Rius's body, falling to her knees and being grabbed by Issei, while she began to cry. Issei, Rius, Rius, Rios. Starting to cry and grabbing Rius and hugging her against his chest. Rius, why did you do this? Rius, why I love you and because I couldn't watch you die, coughing blood and putting her hand on Issei's cheek. Issei, and it was necessary for you to die for me then. Grabbing Rius's hand. Rius, yeah, you know? I never told you how happy I was with you, coughing up blood. That day when I saw you in the club window, I knew you were the person who would change my life, and you did. Issei. No, Rius, don't say that! Aren't you going to die? Please don't leave me, Rius! Please, you are my life, my light, my everything! Grabbing Rius tighter and shedding tears. Are you just holding on? Rius. No, my love, there's no salvation for me now. Starting to cry too. Issei, don't say that, Rius. Rius, of course there's no salvation for us now, and you and I know that. I just asked that you listen to me. Seeing how Issei nodded. Thank you, my love, for always being with me. Thank you for making me the happiest woman in this world. Thank you, really, you know. There was something I wanted to tell you. It was something that made me very happy when I found out. And it was, closing her eyes and stopping breathing, she dies before she could tell him. Issei, Rius, Rius? Rius? No, Rias. starting to cry with all his might, while hugging Rius against his chest. Why, I should have died, not you, Rias. Seeing how Rius had a big smile and held Issei's hand, while a drop of tear came out. Vala, looks like it's all over? Seeing Issei crying and lamenting over Rius's death. Are you the only ones left, Issei, Vala? Making Vala pay attention to him. Just tell me who ordered you to do all this. Looking at Vala and waiting for his answer, while still hugging Rius. Valley, it was the current Gremory matriarch, seeing how Issei was starting to get upset upon hearing who was the cause of all this and starting to deny it. Even if you doubted Haidu, it was her, seeing how Issei was starting to faint from the poison and physical and mental exhaustion, but being able to resist a little longer. It's better that she ends you. Being about to run Issei through with the sword, but being stopped by Akeno. Akeno, wait Vala-kun. Remember that Issei-kun must be taken before Venolana-sama to see what she decides to do with him. Approaching Valley along with everyone else. Valley, HMP whatever, it seems Haidu, you won't die by my hand? Seeing as Akeno was helped by Zenobia and barely able to speak, since she still had the wounds from the fight with Lefay. But at least let me be the one to knock him out, Issei Akeno-san? Getting the attention of the aforementioned. Why did Venolana-sama do all this? Waiting for her answer and carefully placing Rius on the ground. Akeno, because she loves you and asked to do all this so you could be with her without you refusing. Coldly looking at Issei and seeing him get knocked out by Vala. Azazel, okay, collect the boys' bodies and we'll say that we were ambushed and that they perished in the fight, okay. Watching how they collected the bodies of Kiba, Gasper, Kuroka, Rius and Issei. It seems that only the body of the little magician remains. She must have escaped no matter. Anyway, I doubt we'll see her for a while. After that you can see how the others left the place and went to the Gremory mansion, where they told Surzex what had happened and he began to cry for the death of the boys, especially that of Rius taking Issei to a room so he could get better and that they could give him the antidote for Samuel's poison, being cared for by Grafia and waiting for her to bring her the antidote to give it to Issei. But being called by Surzex to ask her for something. After Grafia left the room, Issei woke up half an hour later, to remember everything that had happened and falling out of bed. End of flashback. Issei, why Rius? Why? Crying. It was the only thing that could be heard in that room, until someone interrupted it. Venolana, are you still crying? Stop crying over her, it's always Rius and only Rius. What about me? Can't you understand that I love you too? Issei, Venolana-sama, almost whispering. Venolana, yes, it's me, and will you stop crying and lamenting for her and your friends? Oh no, Issei, shut up. Shut up. Coughs blood, shut up. It's your fault Rius and the others had to die. Because of your damn fault and obsession with me, she had to die. Coughs more blood. After those words, there is a great silence. Venolana, I'm not interested. After all, my daughter was an obstacle for both of us. She had to be eliminated for us to be together, and now that she's dead, there are no more obstacles for us to be together. After all, I'm the only one who loves you now, since the other girls have left you, and it's all thanks to me. Issei, damn it. Damn it. Venolana, I don't care. In fact, I don't care at all what you say. If you're angry with me or despise me, I don't care, as long as we're together. Issei, and tell me, how do you think you'll be with me, if I'm going to die? Come on, tell me how you'll do it. Coughing up more blood. Venolana, well, I have the antidote to cure you of that poison that is killing you little by little, showing Issei the injection with the medicine inside. So you can be with me without any problem. Issei, why Venolana-sama? Why did you have to go to these extremes? Venolana, and you keep asking me, I already told you why. Because I love you. That's my reason for doing these things. Issei, you're crazy. How could you kill your own daughter? Crying. Venolana, she's just a daughter, the daughter of a husband whom I stopped loving, and as if it mattered that much, since I can have many children by the side of the man I love, which is you, approaching Issei to kiss him and caress his cheek. Issei, so Rius? Almost whispering, Rius never mattered to you. Right. Removing Venolana's hand from his cheek. Venolana, exactly. For me, Rius and Surzex never mattered to me, since they are children of a man that I do not love. I was only engaged to that man, by those damn elders of the council. But you are different. That day, when you went to rescue Rius from her engagement to Razor, I was dying of jealousy, wondering, why did no one come to rescue me from my engagement? I asked myself that question over and over, until I understood that Rius had found that man who would love her so much, and apparently I was not wrong. Right, Issei, yes, I love and will continue to love Rius. Whether in life or death, I will always love her, and that will never change. Crying and coughing blood. Venolana. It's a shame he's no longer here, but you know that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Why I couldn't take action at once. It was that, Rius, I was expecting your baby. After Issei heard those words, he felt like his whole world was falling apart. Not only did he lose his beloved, but he also lost his son or daughter, who he will never be able to see, since, because of a woman's wishes, he lost everything he had. Issei, no, no, no. Are you kidding? Unable to believe it until he remembered Rius's last words, which she was going to tell him something, but couldn't, understanding that that something was her son or daughter. Venolana, you can believe whatever you want, but I'm telling you the truth. I still remember that day, where Rius was very happy, telling me and your mother that we would be grandmothers and that she was 2 months old. How pathetic. Issei couldn't hold it in any longer and began to slowly collapse, falling face up on the floor and shedding tears uncontrollably. Drake, calm down, buddy. Remember not to have strong emotions or the poison will spread faster. Issei, how do you want me to calm down, Drake, if this woman not only killed my friends and my wife, but also killed my son or daughter? Tell me, Drake, how can I calm down? Come on, tell me. Seeing that Drake didn't respond and began to see Venolana that she had the cure. Venolana, so tell me, will you stay with me and pretend this never happened? Putting the cure in front of Issei. Just think about it, you and I together, in love and having a family with many children, so you can replace everything you've lost with me, or don't you think so? Grabbing Issei's hands and giving him the cure. Is it your decision, my love? Giving him another very passionate kiss and moving away from him so he could make his choice. Issei didn't know what to do. On one hand, he had lost everything he loved and was slowly dying, but accepting his death and making it all end, and on the other he had the chance to start over again and be able to cure himself of this poison. Issei was about to agree to stay with Venolana, but he remembered Rius and everything they lived through, wondering if he could live knowing that he had betrayed her love, just to stay alive, until he finally made his decision. Issei, Mimi? I choose. Taking the injection with all his strength and then throwing it away, breaking it with a stomp. I choose to stay with Rius. I won't betray her love to live with the woman who took everything from me. Looking at Venolana and seeing how she had a totally angry face. Venolana, you're stupid! Slapping Issei to the ground. That was the only one. Now you won't be able to live anymore. But most importantly, you won't be with me. You ruined my whole plan. Moving away from Issei to leave the room. I gave you the chance to start over and be with me. But no. You decided on Rius above all. If you want to be with her so much, then stay there and suffer from the poison. Leaving the room to leave Issei alone. Issei, I think my time has finally come? Or don't you think so, Drake? Coughing blood. Drake, I think so, partner. I'm so sorry, Issei, because the lives of the CANCELADO are always very tragic and painful, and it seems you were not the exception. I sincerely thought you were that exception, but it was not like that. I'm so sorry, Issei. I'm truly sorry. Issei, no, don't worry, Drake. At least I lived a great life. I managed to save the world. I married the woman of my life. I had many friends, but above all I could have had a daughter or a son, and that fills me with great joy, but very soon I will be reunited with them. Slowly closing his eyes and making his breathing more paused and slower. You know? Getting Drake's attention. One of my goals was to change the name of the CANCELADO to what it used to be before, since that was what affected you the most, and I wanted to change it so that you would feel happy and be proud of me, but I think it won't be possible being Drake. Drake, Issei, starting to cry. You were my best carrier and companion, but above all you were my first best friend, and I will never forget that. Issei Hayato. watching how Issei began to stop breathing and then let out his last words and died. Issei, thank you Drake, take care old friend, if only I had a second chance I would fix everything, to stop breathing and finally die. Drake, no thanks to you, my friend, I'll never forget you, crying, then being wrapped in a green light, along with Issei, then leaving his body, being a small green ball. Take care, old friend, here dies the most powerful CANCELADO in history and my best friend, to then be shot towards a place without direction. After Drake left, without realizing that both Issei and he were being watched by a crow of medium height and deep black color almost like eternal night, through the window, to see how its eyes glowed a very intense blood red and flew out of the tree where it was. After several hours had passed since Issei's death, Gabriel could be seen entering to continue taking care of Issei. But when she saw that he was lying down, she dropped the tray she was carrying and ran to him, and then began to cry because she saw how he had already died. Crying so hard for the loss of her Oni-san, attracting the attention of Successor and Milikas who were about to see Issei to find out how he was. But when they entered they saw how Gabriel was crying next to Issei's motionless body, and then they began to cry. After that, you can see the boy's funeral being held. They were buried in the middle of the underworld in the cemetery of Lily's capital, where there are only people of high prestige. Many people could be seen wanting to say goodbye to the Opie Dragon, the Switch Princess, and their other companions. It was a very sad day for everyone. 5 years later, cemetery of the capital of Lily. It was night, where it was raining and a lot of lightning was falling. You could see Issei's grave, where on the tombstone stood a crow, which was the same one that had seen Issei die 5 years ago, looking towards Issei's grave, and then a voice was heard as if it was whispering in Parousia that the voice was a woman's unknown voice. Get up, get up, get up, it's time for you to get your revenge, get up, Issei Hayata. Then he stopped talking and the crow left the grave and went to a tree that was there. After those words you can see how the earth of Issei's grave began to move little by little, then see how a skeletal hand came out and a skeleton began to emerge from the grave, then it fell in front of Issei's grave and then began to scream, to observe how the skeleton began to be surrounded by many crows and that they began to gather around it, as if they were enclosing it in a tornado. To see how the skeleton began to be covered in flesh, first beginning to form the organs, then it began to be covered in muscles, to end up being covered by skin so that little by little Issei could be seen. When the crows left Issei, he began to scream with all his might, seeing how his appearance changed, beginning to change his hair color now being a deep black, to then see how his eyes were no longer honey-colored, but black and his skin turned a pale color. After Issei suffered these changes, you could see how the crow that was previously standing in a tree moved from its position and went towards Issei, getting inside him, and then 6 pairs of crow wings grew out of him, black in color, and he fell to the ground and began to laugh in a demonic way, and all the crows that were in the place began to gather around Issei. Chapter 2. Just remember. Issei remained lying unconscious on the rain-soaked ground, with no signs of waking up. The rain was slowly fading until it was gone completely, giving way to the beautiful full moon surrounded by stars and accompanied by the night. As time passed, he slowly opened his eyes and returned to life once more. Placing his palms on the ground to stand up, he then lay down, placing his arms on the ground to keep from falling. Almost immediately, intense pain shot through his body from the exertion and his stiff muscles, and he let out a deep groan of pain. When the pain subsided, he stood up, careful not to hurt himself more than necessary. Once standing, he looked down a little to find himself in a puddle of water, seeing the reflection of black irises and hair as dark as night next to skin as white as the moon that shines that night. Realizing it was him, he gently rubbed his face with his fingertips, confirming it was no illusion. He then looked at his hands and noticed they were the same color as his face. Ignoring his features and focusing on his body to make sure everything was in order, he began to examine himself, looking at his worn, dirty, and rain-damp clothes. Then he looked up and was bewildered by the place. Where am I?" she whispered, feeling her throat dry, clearing her throat a little, and feeling a slight relief. Taking a quick look, he realized it was a cemetery because of the countless tombstones along with their graves, the trees, and statues of some Catholic deities, whether angelic or demonic. "Is it a cemetery?" He scanned his surroundings again in more detail to identify exactly where he was. I don't understand. How did I get here? After exploring the site for several minutes, he realized that he couldn't exactly recognize the cemetery he was in, becoming a little annoyed by this and deciding to head toward a large tree he had seen. When he took his first step, he felt a horrible jolt of pain throughout his body, as his muscles were still stiff from lack of movement. As he approached the tree, the pain diminished until it returned to normal. Reaching the tree, he lay down and closed his eyes, trying to remember something that would help him figure out why he was here. After several more minutes, he couldn't remember anything. Damn! I only remember lying down in the mansion, but from there it was just pure darkness. He remained silent for a few seconds. It's true! How could I have forgotten? Hey, Drake. Hey, friend, do you know what happened? Silence. Dragon? Silence. Please answer me, Drake. He waited for the dragon's response. After several seconds, he let out a sigh. I think he's not here. Clenching his eyes and hands in anger. Since I can't even feel his presence or his power in me. Becoming depressed by his situation, he rested his head on his knees. He couldn't understand anything, so all he had left was to try to put together the small clues, to at least formulate a theory that would lead him to understand his condition. First, it started with his last memory being the mansion, then being in the cemetery, and finally, Drake no longer with him. He came to the conclusion that he had died and for some reason, he was now alive. After contemplating that conclusion for several minutes, he let out a sigh of defeat. Wow! Even though I've come to a conclusion, there are still several things that aren't entirely clear, like why am I here? How long have I been dead? What happened? Why am I alive? Although the last question is what disturbs him the most, since it's not every day that you come back from the dead, and knowing that you're now alive is quite unsettling. Ignoring the other questions to focus on this one, I managed to discover several extremely important things. If I'm really alive, despite everything, who can possibly have that much power just to revive me? Trembling in fear at that fact, he continued along that line of thought. Not only must his power be extraordinary, but also, the method he used must be powerful. That leads to the question, what magic or spell was used? But what troubles me the most is, why me? Why of all people did he have to choose me? As he pondered these questions, he began to hear various flapping and cawing sounds in the sky. When he looked up, he saw crows circling around him. He became mesmerized by the crow and forgot his thoughts without knowing why. After the crow noticed the dark-haired man's intense gaze, it flew toward him with great speed, landing on his right shoulder. This action disconcerted him, but he didn't think much of it and just watched. Inspecting the crow, he noticed two remarkable things. One was its appearance, since it was larger than average, and the aquamarine eyes that unsettled him and stared at him with such intensity. The other, perhaps the most important, was that he felt something very familiar within himself, a kind of very weak mental connection with that being. This fact caught his attention, as it was very similar to the one he had with Drake. Putting those thoughts aside, he decided to speak to the creature. Hey, buddy. Apparently, I think you've taken a liking to me, haven't you? Chuckling. Yeah, I know. I know it's weird talking to a crow, but you're the only one standing by me to keep me company. He looked straight ahead, returning to his train of thought about his resurrection. If only I could remember something. He leaned back on his knees, feeling increasingly frustrated by all the unanswered questions. He gave up until the crow started cawing and flapping its wings, catching his attention. He turned to look at the crow. What's up, buddy? She looked at him with curiosity and concern, seeing how he was now calming down. Touch me. What? He opened his eyes in shock. He searched the surroundings for the source of the voice. I swear I heard a woman's voice, but there's no one else here unless... He looked at the bird and was amazed to see it nodding its head. Well? I never thought a crow could talk, much less that its voice was beautiful. But do you want me to touch you? He saw the crow nod its head again. Slowly, he cautiously approached her hand, about to touch her. He stopped, slightly hesitant about whether to do so, but realized he had nothing to lose, and maybe that crow could give him some answers. As he touched one of her wings, he felt nothing at all. He raised an eyebrow, since he was pretty sure something was going to happen when he touched the crow, but apparently that wasn't the case. He took his hand off the crow's wing. He was about to ask her what had happened or what was supposed to happen, but he heard the beautiful melodious voice again. Now just remember. Unable to express himself in time, he felt his conscience being dragged into the depths of his mind. Slowly opening his eyes, he felt a bright light shining too brightly for his liking. Not only that, but his body felt very heavy and tired. If he could, the brunette would take a nap for days or even weeks. However, he was pretty sure Rius wouldn't let him. Thinking about his wife caused a wave of memories to hit him. The sudden surge of memories also brought a terrible pain to his head. Holding his aching head in his hand as he sat down, Issei grimaced even more as his entire body felt as bad as his brain, maybe even worse. Looking down, he could see his attire, which was a full black tuxedo. What happened? He thought. All he could remember was the mission they were given, the forest, the enemies, the battles, Samuel's poison, and then, holding his head as another wave of pain hit, he decided not to remember anymore, at least for now. When the pain finally subsided, he took the time to explore his surroundings. What he found could be summed up in one simple word: white. White was the word that perfectly described the place. All he could see around him was a whitish land with a few greenish trees. The sky surrounding him and the soft snow at his feet were the same color, accompanied by a light breeze that stirred the snow and created abstract shapes. He took a deep breath and sniffed the air. The sweet scent of the trees filled his lungs, feeling calm and relaxed, but despite the pleasant sensations he felt lonely, as if something was missing, since ever since he woke up this feeling of being empty, sad or whatever other emotion that accompanied it, lingered deep within his being. Where am I? He asked, taking another look. He was finally able to slowly get to his feet. He continued to study his surroundings. There wasn't much to see, really, due to the thick fog that made it difficult to see more than a few meters around him. Hey Drake, buddy, are you there? Silence. That was the answer he received. Dragon? Silence again. Now he really started to worry. What the hell had happened after I fainted when I was hit by the arrow? Hadn't we already defeated those guys? He thought, agitated. As if on cue, a new wave of memories flooded into his mind, accompanied by another horrible pain. He remembered the betrayal of his friends, the deaths of Kiba, Gasper, Kuroka, and Rius, the loss of Lefay, Venolana's madness, Drake's farewell, and his death. Holding his head again until the pain subsided, it finally subsided. Shedding several tears of sadness for her friends, she felt the feeling of loneliness increase a little more, but she didn't give it much importance. All she wanted at this moment was to know what motivated her friends to act that way, even though she knew she would never find the answer. Feeling shattered inside, he forced himself to calm down. He wiped his eyes with his forearm and said a silent prayer for his deceased friends, asking their forgiveness for not saving them. Taking one last look at his surroundings, checking that nothing had changed since his last glance. Heaving a sigh at the sight, he finally decided to start walking away from where he was, albeit without any specific direction. But that didn't stop him from continuing on, as he simply wanted to get away from there. Maybe with a bit of luck, maybe, just maybe, he could find something or someone to keep him company in his solitude, besides the snow, the breeze, the fog, and the few trees. What was that? The brunette asked in surprise. A memory, she replied. Huh? What do you mean? Arcing an eyebrow. You'll find out soon enough. I don't understand you, and I don't even know who you are. Just keep remembering and you'll know. Wait, feeling another tug towards his mind and remembering another moment. Walking aimlessly through the whitish forest, with the breeze hitting his face and swaying his hair, Issei continued to wander aimlessly. From the moment he woke up, he only occasionally stopped to rest, though he didn't really need to. Still, it was something he realized as he explored the place, as he never felt tired, hungry, or fatigued. The only thing that manifested was the feeling of loneliness. If not the opposite, the feeling only grew as time went on. Throughout his entire hike, he never encountered anything different. It simply seems that snow and trees are all this place contains. The only differences, if you could call them that, are the different sizes and types of trees, the footprints, and the different abstract shapes created by the footprints, or the air and the snow. As he continued along his path, he realized several things. One is that he wasn't alone, if the countless footprints of varying sizes indicated anything. Another is that every time the feeling of loneliness increased, the air grew colder, so much so that he could see his own breath. Finally, he always had the feeling of being constantly watched by someone else, although he never saw anything suspicious. But despite the feeling of being watched, he didn't give it much thought. He was already dead anyway. Wasn't he? And above all, what business could they have with him? Forgetting your thoughts for the moment, to focus on your surroundings and see if anything has changed. Nothing, everything's the same. He sighed. It's not like the fog is helping me on its own. Standing still as he looked from side to side. This is really starting to stress me out. If only I knew where to go. He sat down in the snow and made lines in it. Feeling increasingly cold, he began rubbing his arms for the sole purpose of generating warmth. But the chill didn't ease even a bit, so he decided to curl up between his knees instead. It's been a long time since I woke up in this place. He rested his head between his knees. I'm really starting to feel alone. I wish I knew right now what this place is or where I'm supposed to be. He shivered slightly from the cold. I can't take it anymore. What was that? He stood up quickly and began searching for the noise. Where did that voice come from? Please. Forgive me. Issei immediately ran off in the direction he believed the voice had come from, not caring what might happen. After all, he was still and would always be a hero. Hello? Is anyone here? Hearing a woman sobbing, hello? I am so sorry, son. And then I didn't mean to do this to you. Darling, please, forgive me too. Hello? He said, moving closer to the voice. Little by little, he began to see the silhouette of a woman curled up between his knees, but he couldn't yet see her features because of the thick fog surrounding her. Moving a little closer, he could finally see her features. Describing her, in a word, beautiful. Her long, hip-length sky-blue hair, creamy white skin, and no more than 25 years old. Based on his experience as a pervert, he could tell that the woman's body is stunning and she's rather tall, despite not being able to see her entire body due to her position. Wearing a pair of tight black dress pants, a mint-colored blouse with a white cropped sweatshirt, a black necklace, and a pair of black heels. Excuse me? He asked, getting the woman's attention. She turned to look at the brown-haired boy, now able to see his beautiful blue eyes, but reddened from crying so much. Darling, is that you? Excuse me? He said, seeing the charming eyes looking back at him, noticing the enormous sadness and emptiness in them. As if she wasn't looking at him, but at the same time she was. Seeing that woman made his heart sink. Crouching down to her level so they could both see each other better. No. You're not him. You don't have those beautiful green eyes I love so much. Issei just limited himself to giving her a sad smile while wiping the tears from her cheek. Sorry for making you think it was someone else. I don't know who that person is. But if it helps, my name is Issei Hayato. What's your name? He said with a friendly smile. THTH, that doesn't matter now, moving away from the brunette's touch. Don't touch me. Moving even further away from him. Relax. I won't hurt you, he said, staying in position to make his point. I just wanted to wipe your tears, that's all. Still, I think I can help you. Do you think you can help me? Her voice dripping with sarcasm. No one can help me, but if you want to know what's wrong with me so badly, I'll tell you. All I want now is for my family to forgive me. I see your pain. I'm not interested. If you can't help me, you're not worth my time. Just get out of here. What a rude woman! One of his eyebrows twitched. She may be beautiful, but that doesn't give her the right to be like that, he thought. Hey, don't worry, I'm not hurting you. I just came to help you. I don't need your help, so go away. She looked at him with such cold eyes. She huddled back together again, shivering from the cold as she sobbed again. This woman is probably bipolar. Just a moment ago she was crying, then she was really angry, and now she's crying again. He thought again and let out a sigh. Okay, I understand. You don't want me here, but let me help you with the cold because you won't stop shivering, okay? He removed his blazer to give it to her. I said go. You don't know who I am. You don't know what I do. You don't know anything about me. So go now. I just want to be alone. No, the honey-eyed man couldn't say more, due to the new voice of a man. Leave her alone, boy. She won't listen to you. Ignoring the woman's sobs, Issei turned his head towards the man's voice that spoke to him, being amazed to see another person in this place. Seeing a man a little over 35 years old, light skin, somewhat long dark brown hair, brown eyes, tall build and not very corpulent, wearing a dark red plaid button-down shirt, light blue pants, with camel-colored work boots, he looks like he hasn't slept much. Come on, kid. There's nothing you can do for her. She's already lost the fight with this place. Lost? Fighting? What do you mean? Arching one of his eyebrows. Apparently you're new here, aren't you? Seeing the younger brunette's confusion. Okay, don't worry. Come with me, and I'll explain what this place is all about. And her? Looking at the young woman with light blue hair, the older chestnut sighed and shook his head. As I said, she's beyond saving, young man. Before Issei could respond, the woman began to seal herself in a cocoon made of ice while continuing to sob and mutter apologies to her family. With no chance of saving the woman, Issei just stood petrified and watched as she was completely covered. Don't feel bad, kid. She was the one who made the decision to lock herself in that cocoon. Let's leave her alone. Anyway, she was the one who told you she wanted to be alone. Right. Let's get out of here. Approaching Issei. By the way, my name is Travis Grady. Offering his hand to help the younger brunette rise, Issei didn't know what he should do. On one hand, he could go to the man named Travis, who apparently knew what this place was, and ask him all his questions. However, it could be a trap to leave this woman defenseless, not knowing what might happen to her. On the other hand, he could refuse the man's offer and take care of this woman, although he was pretty sure she wouldn't appreciate it. After all, she was the one who asked to be alone. Making his decision, he grabbed Travis's hand firmly and pulled him to his feet. Once standing, Travis gave him a friendly smile and gestured for him to follow. Moving away from the ice cocoon, heading in a seemingly random direction, he took one last look at the mass of ice before disappearing into the mist shortly after. Where are we going, Travis-san? By the way, my name is Issei Hayato. Although I'm usually called Issei, it's a pleasure, Issei-san. And to answer your question, I don't really know. I just want to get away from that woman. Okay, listening to the chuckle of the other brunette. Walking for a while longer until they reached an open space surrounded by trees, the older man pointed out to the younger that this spot was perfect. Travis then went to a tree and ripped off several pieces of wood. Returning to the center of the open space, he crouched down, placing the pieces on the snow to make a fire. Using a fire spell, he lit the fire and pointed to his side for Issei to sit. As Issei sat down next to her, they both placed their hands in front of the fire to feel its warmth. So tell me, Issei-san. How long have you been here? Honestly, I don't know. It could be quite a bit, perhaps. Don't worry, Issei-san. Judging by your confusion, I can tell you haven't been here much longer than I have. Seeing the honey-eyed man nod with some hesitation. Better tell me your doubts, kid. I can see there are quite a few, right? Chuckling without taking his gaze off the fire, not really knowing what to ask due to the many questions he had, he was nonetheless unsure whether this guy could answer his questions or not. In the end, he realized he had nothing to lose, and if the guy couldn't answer, at least he'd appreciate his company. With some skepticism, he asked his first question. Can we use magic here? He asked without thinking. What the hell was that? I have so many questions and that's all I can think of to say. He thought to himself. Hearing his companion's laughter, Travis turned towards the honey-eyed man and looked at him with a mocking smile. I never thought you'd ask me that. I thought you'd ask me something like what is this place or why are we here? Blushing at her somewhat silly question, Issei decided to stay quiet so as not to embarrass himself more than he already was. Answering your question. Yes, we can use magic here. Have you ever tried casting a spell? Issei shook his head and tried to make a small flame on his index finger, checking that he can make one. But when he wanted to make a much more powerful spell, he realized that he couldn't accumulate enough magic to do it. We can only cast very low-level spells, though, Travis added as an afterthought, rubbing his chin. Anyway, do you have another question? Yeah, I already noticed, Issei replied sarcastically. Sorry, But you didn't let me finish my sentence, he said, scratching his head nervously. But tell me your other question, okay? Sighing and pinching the bridge of his nose to calm himself, Issei asked his other question. Are we the only ones here? No, throughout my time here, I've seen many people in equal or worse condition than that woman you met there. In fact, you're the third person I've spoken to. The third one? Issei asked, surprised by that fact. Yes, the first is a woman named Rias. She was the one who explained to me what this place is and why we're here. After that, I never saw her again. The second is a man named Takeshi. He was my companion for a while until he went mad too. I see. So what is this place? Do you have any ideas in mind? Travis asked somewhat mischievously. I have several theories, but nothing concrete. What I know for sure is that we're dead and somewhere in the spiritual plane, Issei replied. Apparently, you're not that lost, Issei-san. Although I'd better answer all your questions right away. If you have any other questions, let me know along the way, okay? That seems fine to me. Let's see, where do I start? He rubbed his chin as he took a reflective pose. We'll start with what I actually know, and then I'll tell you some conjectures I have. Are you okay with this? He saw the other brunette nod. Well, to be exact, you know what limbo is, right? Yes, it's the border or limit between reality or the spiritual, located between heaven and hell. It's basically a temporary state or place for the souls of people who, after their physical life, died some time before Jesus' resurrection, and a permanent state or place for unbaptized children who die without having committed any personal sin, but without having been freed from original sin. But what does that have to do with this place? With a curious look, exactly. And it has to do with this, because we're in this place, we're in limbo, Issei-san. But it is not possible for us to be here, since Michael-sama said at a faction meeting that this place no longer existed, due to how cruel the place is to souls, especially children. Apparently they lied to you, young man. Anyway, you're here, aren't you? He watched his companion nod somewhat skeptically. Look, I don't know why they lied to you or even why they said that, but what I am sure of is that this place still exists and that we're here, or that's what they told me. Understand? Well, let's continue. As you said, this place was meant to shelter those souls, however now... She shaded her eyes with her hair. It's a place where lost souls are kept. Anyone who dies in regret, dies tragically, or something similar, ends up here, regardless of their actions. It doesn't matter if they were good or bad people. This place doesn't judge or discriminate against that. It simply brings all those people together and makes them wander aimlessly, lost in their own minds, descending into madness. Issei felt a chill run down his spine. Absorbing all this new information, he remained silent and just let Travis continue his explanation. So we're doomed to wander aimlessly, with no chance of saving ourselves or anyone else. Travis finished his explanation, his gaze still shadowed by his hair. They both remained in an awkward silence. Until the younger chestnut tree broke the silence. So, all of us who are here, it's because we have regrets, and these prevent us from resting in peace. Yeah, basically. Anyway, not everyone here knows that. I dare say only a handful of us know about this, Travis replied. It's true. Because if I hadn't found you I wouldn't have known anything and I would still be in ignorance, said Issei with a somewhat unfocused look. That's all I know, kid, adding fuel to the fire so it wouldn't go out. Thank you for clearing up some of my doubts. The honey-eyed man thanked me. I really appreciate it, not only for the explanation, but also for your company. You saved me from falling into madness like that woman. He thought and reflected to himself as he remembered the blue-eyed woman. Issei-san, he called out. Now that you know what this place is, what do you think? Travis asked, placing his palms near the fire. I don't know. This is all very confusing to me, and thinking about it, it still doesn't answer my question about that feeling of loneliness that only increases with the cold. You noticed that too. I thought only Takeshi and I deduced that, Travis replied with some enthusiasm, knowing that they weren't the only ones who noticed. Yeah, from what I've noticed. That feeling only grows when I think about my... He remained silent for a moment with a melancholy look on his face. Forget it, it's just my ramblings. The brown-eyed man said nothing. He understood his companion's refusal to express his regret. After all, he also had his own regrets, for which he deeply regretted them. The two fell into a deep, somewhat comfortable silence, listening only to the crackling of the improvised campfire. They remained like that for a long time, simply enjoying the warmth of the fire and each other's company. You know, Travis resumed the conversation. During my time with Takeshi, we both agreed that both the feeling of loneliness and the cold increase when we think about our regrets. We realized that the more regrets we have, the cold and loneliness will grow to the point where we lose our sanity and the cold becomes unbearable. Once we reach that point, we've lost the fight against this place. The man concluded with a wistful smile. And there's no way to avoid that fate? The honey-eyed man asked in an excited voice. To be honest, I really don't know. He lowered his gaze. And I think that if there's a destiny for us, it's to lose the fight and fall into our own madness. After all, it was Takeshi who fell victim to his own sins, the man said, without taking his gaze off the fire and with a bitter smile. And you? With a nervous and uncomfortable voice and look. Why didn't I get lost? With some mischief and turning to look at him, Issei just nodded with some hesitation and a look of astonishment at guessing her next words. It's okay if you don't want to, well, you know. After all, I'm a complete stranger to you. The brown-eyed man only laughed at his other companion's nervousness, but decided to calm his worries. Don't worry, Issei-san. Anyway, I was going to tell you so you could at least delay the inevitable. She gave him a soft smile. Thank you, smiling back. Before Takeshi descended into madness, Travis began to explain with a nostalgic look. We began to realize, as I told you, that the feeling grows every time we regret or think about the loved ones we've left behind. So, we looked for a way to make that grief more bearable. How did they do it? You'll be surprised, by the way. Seeing the honey-eyed man's curious gaze. I simply accepted my regrets. That is, I just had to assimilate and accept the reason why I'm here. After that, the feeling and the cold stopped increasing, remaining at the same level. You agreed? You say that like you're the only one who did. What happened to Takeshi? And I don't quite understand you, Travis-san. It's because I was the only one who did. Takeshi could never accept his sins. He firmly believed he had already accepted his sorrows, but the reality was different. Even though I never knew what his regrets were, I knew that those regrets weren't real and that he was only lying to himself, believing that the sins he had accepted were the right ones. It wasn't until it was too late that he was finally able to realize what his true regrets were. But even so, he fell into madness, and because of that, I had to abandon him. Seeing the young man's astonished expression. Believe me, kid. If I hadn't done it, he probably would have fallen into madness too. Okay, I understand and it's a shame for him, but that still doesn't clear up my confusion. Which, from what I can understand, to stop the feeling from growing, we have to accept our regrets, which are also the reasons why we're trapped in this place. But aren't we supposed to already know what those regrets are, which are also the reason why we're here? Issei said, not fully understanding Travis's explanations. That's what I initially thought too, but apparently they're two very different concepts. What I'm getting at is that we need to know exactly why we're here. I think I have a clear idea now, Issei said. Sorry if I'm not very specific, Travis said, scratching his head somewhat nervously. Don't worry, Travis-san, Issei reassured. Thanks. He smiled with some discomfort. And tell me, do you know exactly why you're trapped in this place? No, right now I have many reasons coming to mind as to why I should be here, but I don't know which one is the right one. However, you already know why you're here. Travis let out a small laugh at the last thing the younger brunette said. You know, snapping Issei out of his thoughts. We seem like a couple of old friends who've reunited after a long time, don't you think? Issei just smiled at that idea, nodding his head and feeling more comfortable with the presence of his brown-haired companion. And what's stopping us from being friends? Issei added mischievously. Travis just laughed louder again. Calming his laughter, he offered his hand to Issei to shake. Nothing, Issei-kun. That's right, Travis-kun. They both shook hands and remained silent for a while, just enjoying the company of their new friend while enjoying the warmth of the campfire flames. Issei-kun, dime. I'll tell you the sorrow I have and the reason why I'm here. You don't have to, Travis-kun, if you're not ready to tell me. The time will come, and maybe I'll tell you mine too when I know. No, I think the best time is now. Anyway, It's something you'll find out sooner or later, and it's best if I tell you right away. And maybe, with a bit of luck, I can help you discover your true regret. Okay, if you say so, with some nervousness in his words. The reason I'm here is my daughter. She's the reason I'm deeply saddened. Your daughter? Yes, but don't get me wrong. I love her and I'll continue to love her, giving her a loving smile, her eyes sparkling with joy. When he was alive, he was a simple human who earned a living by working. It was just me and my little girl against the world, with a dreamy look on her face. Her beautiful green eyes, her hair the same color as ours, and her white skin. It's very obvious that you love her quite a bit, Issei said with a cheerful smile. Travis scratched his cheek, somewhat embarrassed, but still smiling. Yes, she was all I had after her mother abandoned us. My little girl was only a year old back then. His gaze darkening slightly, but eventually composing himself. What happened to your mom? The honey-eyed man asked. She left us. One day she was with us, and the next she was gone. He looked melancholy. For a while, I blamed myself for her leaving us. He looked down. I thought I'd done something wrong, or that I never loved her the way she wanted me to. He closed his eyes to keep from crying. I understand, friend, Issei said, remembering the girls. What's her name? Darla Koetsuji. That's her name, Travis said in a disdainful voice. I don't really know if she's still alive or if she's already dead. It's not like I care, he continued in a very icy voice, his voice expressionless. Although I wouldn't mind if she were dead, I think it would be a just punishment for what she did to me and my princess. The younger brunette was simply surprised by the way Travis spoke to his partner, and the mother of his daughter. He somewhat understood his friend due to his experience with girls, but he was pretty sure he would never express himself that way. Something else had to have happened besides them abandoning them, so he just remained silent so his companion could continue his story. You might be surprised by the way I talk, but I truly hate her with all my being, clenching his fists and grinding his teeth. I'll tell you why I hate her. After a few months of having abandoned us, one day I arrived home after a work meeting. I was very tired and all I wanted was to see my princess, since she was the only one who relieved all my stress. Simply seeing and hearing her gladdened my heart and made me forget all my worries, calming down for a moment, but quickly his anger returned with full force. Upon entering my house, the place was very quiet. Usually you always hear my baby's laughter or whimpers, but this time it was not the case. I thought she was asleep or that her caregiver had taken her for a walk. It was not the first time that happened. I looked for Kasumi, her caregiver, but I could not find her. Until darkening his eyes, I saw Kasumi lying unconscious in the kitchen. I quickly searched the entire house for my baby, but she wasn't there. She had been taken. I was desperate and waited for Kasumi to wake up so she could tell me what had happened. She told me that someone had broken in and beaten her. I called the police, and they told me to expect news in the next few days. Needless to say, I couldn't sleep that day. The next day, I received a notice that I had been charged with kidnapping, rape, and abuse by Darla, and kidnapping and abuse of my princess. Shortly after, I received a letter from Darla demanding that I give her all my belongings, money, property rights, and my businesses. After all, he owned several luxurious restaurants, bars, and a few nightclubs. Let's just say he was somewhat wealthy. Anyway, if I agreed to give her everything, she would drop all the charges, give me my baby and leave us alone. But if I refused, she would increase the accusations and probably go and kill me, and if for some reason she went to the police, my little girl would also pay the consequences. Every time Travis continued his story, Issei grew angrier and angrier, looking at his friend sadly. Now he understood his anger toward the woman. And what did you do? Issei asked in a tense voice. What do you think? Seeing his friend's denial. I gave her all my things, since all I wanted was for my baby to be okay. After all, I wanted her to be with me, since, for her mother, she was only a means to an end. Sighing somewhat sadly. When they gave me my princess, I was very happy. I didn't really care about my things. After all, I could get my material things back, but not my little girl. Smiling bitterly. The next 2 years were hell for me. Losing my job and money, I had to work hard to provide for my beauty. In fact, thanks to Kasumi taking care of my little girl, even though I didn't pay her, I was able to get ahead." Shedding a tear and smiling tenderly, he said, "And things got better." Issei smiled at him, truly starting to admire his new friend. He was pretty sure that if the same thing had happened to him, he wouldn't know what would have happened to him. "You're amazing, Travis-kun. You really are a true man and a father." "Thank you, but I don't deserve it." Smiling bitterly as her eyes pricked with tears. "Because?" Travis sighed heavily, and closed his eyes as he began to cry. Apparently that unhappy woman clenching her jaw. As she found out that I had recovered financially and emotionally, so she came looking for me, but this time to finish me off, squeezing her hands with all her strength. That day, she entered my apartment with several men, and they arrested me and Kasumi. To sum it up, things didn't go so well. They killed my friend Kasumi, my apartment was burned down, and I was wounded in the shoulder by a bullet, crying louder and louder, clenching her fists in rage and helplessness. The younger chestnut-haired boy could only place his hand on his shoulder in a gesture of support. He could only watch his friend cry as he told his tragic story, proving that not only the supernatural is plagued by repulsive beings, but humanity as well. Thinking for a moment that they both suffered because of a woman's whims, Venolana's face came to mind as she smiled tenderly, a shudder running through his body. Shaking his head, he realized that in everything Travis had told him, he had never mentioned his daughter's name or the regret he felt toward her. But if he hadn't told him beforehand that his regret was toward his daughter, he was pretty sure he would assume it was revenge and anger toward that woman. As he uttered the words, revenge and anger, he felt a strange, comforting familiarity in his conscience. Unsure why those words appealed to him so much, he pushed them out of his mind and focused on his new friend, hearing some unintelligible mutterings. "I abandoned my daughter," Travis said. "What?" Issei said, not quite understanding. "After escaping from them." She wiped her tears with her fingers. "I went to an alley and left my baby girl in a dumpster to hide her from them. I really didn't care what happened to me. The most important thing to me was that my little girl was okay. Despite all the pain in my heart against leaving her, I knew this was the best option. Shortly after, Darla found me and murdered me right in front of the alley where she was." She stopped crying, but still spoke with a broken voice and a hangover. "You'd probably think the reason I'm here is revenge or anger toward Darla, but no, it's because I abandoned my daughter. Being alone, without someone to care for her, without someone loving her with all their heart, not being able to protect her, having her grow up alone at only 3 years old, I'm terrified that something could have happened to her in my absence. That's my regret, Issei-kun, having abandoned my daughter Sarah." Starting to feel very cold. As Travis finished his story, Issei was amazed, nervous, tense, confused, and scared just hearing Sarah's name. His mind raced as he recalled his friend's description of the girl, which also coincidentally describes his 18-year-old sister, who was also found on the street at age 6, and to top it all off, her name is Sarah. There are too many coincidences to be mere chance. Maybe that girl and her little sister are one and the same. "Sarah?" the honey-eyed man exclaimed as he finished his analysis. The older chestnut-haired boy was beginning to feel too cold, and the feeling of loneliness grew more and more intense. He realized that the more he told his story, the colder he felt. Only when he finished his story did he realize these details, and he felt that he was soon going to go mad. However, when he heard his friend scream, he became a little scared. He looked into his friend's eyes and saw the disbelief in them. Yes, Sarah Grady, that's her name. Why are you surprised?" Travis expressed his doubt when he saw his friend's astonishment. Because, unable to finish his sentence due to nervousness about seeing his friend's reaction to the news, Issei inhaled as deeply as his lungs allowed, finally dropping the bomb. "Because I know what happened to your daughter, because I know where she is, and because I know who has her." Observing his brown-haired companion's somewhat doubtful excitement. "After all, it's because your daughter is fine, because she's with my family, and because she's my little sister. Your daughter is still alive and happy." Issei concluded his statement with a huge smile upon meeting his sister's father, all but blood. Travis only had a face of absolute shock, but just as it came, it went away when it was replaced by one of total happiness for knowing the whereabouts of his princess. But calming his emotion a little, since there is the possibility that this Sarah is just another person, although deep down he felt that that was not the case and that his daughter is the one his partner mentions. So he asked to confirm things, and realizing that, if it was her, upon receiving the whole explanation of how Issei and his parents found her, how they took care of her, watched over her every time she was sick, etc., and the features she has, feeling immensely happy, Travis began to feel lighter and lighter, as if a huge weight had been lifted from his shoulders. Finally, his soul began to feel at peace knowing about his daughter's life. Despite the fact that for the first 6 years after abandoning her, she lived and suffered on the streets, which pained him to know, he found it reassuring to learn the rest. Being at peace with himself, he knew he should no longer wander around this place. He looked his short but great friend in the eye, and with a single thank you from him, he began to levitate and glow brightly with a whitish glow. Issei was confused by what his eyes were seeing, and he could do nothing but continue watching as his little sister's father floated and shone with that intense whitish light. He was stunned by his companion's words, but eventually recovered. "Thank you, Issei-kun. Thank you so much for giving me peace and tranquility to my soul. Thank you so much," as he continued to disappear into several white particles. "You're welcome," Travis-kun smiling tenderly as he watches his friends slowly disappear. Travis just smiled at him one last time, and with a final thank you, he disappeared completely. Issei just remained silent as he continued smiling and looked at the same place where his friend and father of his little sister had been. With a small tear spilling down his cheek, the young man turned to the opposite side and began to walk away from that place. "Travis-kun," the black-eyed boy whispered. "Wow, so you remembered her sister's father." "Interesting," the woman's voice said. The black-haired man suddenly snapped out of his stupor, remembering his friend when he heard the melodious voice of the crow perched on his shoulder. He stared into the bird's blue eyes while arching one of his eyebrows as he tried to process what he just said. Finally understanding the words the flying animal had spoken, he quickly put his mind to work analyzing the mystery surrounding the animal, coming up with hundreds of different ideas. He thought the best way to unravel the riddle surrounding the crow was to ask it directly. "Who are you and why do these memories come to mind?" he said, looking at the bird on his shoulder with complete seriousness. The answer never came, since that voice had never been heard before. Issei began to grow annoyed at the lack of interaction with the crow. "I'll repeat it one more time. Who are you and why do I remember this?" the black-eyed man demanded brusquely. "Look, Issei-kun. I'm asking you to calm down, okay?" the woman's voice said. Issei's reaction was one of pure stupefaction upon hearing the answer they gave him, since he never imagined they would respond to him in that way. Snapping out of his momentary shock, he decided not to argue with this beast any further, at least for the time being. He was already quite used to this kind of response from Drake anyway. Taking a deep breath, she forced herself to calm down and ask again, but this time gently. Probably if she asked him nicely, he'd get an answer. "Fine, you win," he said, seeing the bird's small nod. "Now, can you tell me who you are and what's happening with these memories?" "Please." "Excellent, Issei-kun, but I won't answer you," laughing softly at Issei's face. "What?" "But I told you that if you wanted answers, you just had to keep remembering, didn't I?" Seeing another hesitant nod. "I think this memory will give you my name, and if not, maybe the next one, who knows? But I doubt it. After all, this is the last memory." "What do you mean, the last memory?" Issei asked. "Just shut up and keep remembering," the woman said as she made Issei receive another memory. Alone. It's been a long time since that time when Travis happened, and in all that time the brown-haired man limited himself to reflecting on what Travis had told him. "What will my regret be?" he muttered to himself. After saying goodbye to his friend and his sister's father, he had encountered more lost souls wandering aimlessly. Some seemed normal, others were on the verge of madness, and still others were practically in complete despair. Just looking at these poor souls made him feel pity and sorrow, but he knew there was nothing he could do for them. To the few he managed to see who weren't lost in madness, he would approach and help them, even if it was just giving them the information he knew, such as where they were, why they were here, the effects of losing themselves in their sadness, and how they could avoid falling into that despair. Some believed him, others didn't, but he didn't give them much thought and just continued on his way. Just being able to help these troubled souls was enough to make him feel better, but something that continued to trouble him was not knowing exactly why he was here. He thought about all his regrets and made peace with them, but it seemed that it wasn't any of them, since the feeling kept growing and the cold became increasingly unbearable. I really want to know what my sorrow is, he thought as he paused. I just want to be free of my burden so I can be with you. Imagining his family and friends waiting for him in the other world, he shook his head to forget those thoughts, now thinking about his family who were still alive, the faces of his adopted daughter, his little sister, his parents, and Successor's family coming to mind. Then he thought about what his other friends who hadn't betrayed him or left him aside and who had always supported him, like Ravel, Reiser, Serorg, Tannen, and Lefay, were doing, wondering where the latter was and if she was okay. He smiled happily at the thought that they were all fine and possibly happy. Thinking about his family and friends only increased the cold and the horrible feeling of loneliness. Smiling wistfully, he continued to imagine the moment he would be able to see his lovely wife again, to be able to hug her, kiss her, and tell her how much he loves her. Tears stung his eyes slightly. If only I knew where you guys are. A wave of nostalgia washed over him, recalling every moment he spent with each of them, from the tenderest to the saddest. Blinking several times to stop his tears from falling. I just hope that wherever they are, they're happy. And that they know that I miss them. Squeezing her eyelids with all her strength, preventing the tears of sadness from shedding. Kiba, Kuroka, Gasper, my love, and my little one. Rest in peace wherever you are. Unable to hold back any longer, Issei burst into tears. He unleashed all his sadness, helplessness, rage, despair, and anger. Anger at his former friends, for taking away so much of what he loved and held dear in his life. It wasn't enough to break his heart. It wasn't enough to remove him from the alliance and replace him with Saji. It wasn't enough to emotionally destroy Rius when they stripped her of her position as heir to the House of Gremory. It wasn't enough to prevent him from saving his little girl's mother in that accident. And now this. He even knew there was a limit to all of this, and that it had been crossed long ago. Perhaps he never realized it or never wanted to accept it, perhaps because of his ignorance and the desire for things to gradually improve, or perhaps because he simply didn't act so as not to cause more problems for his family. In any case, they could call him a coward, and yes, he wouldn't deny it, but on the contrary, he would agree with anyone who said it to his face. After all, his failure to act led him to this cruel fate. Letting out a huge scream of frustration, he finally found his grief and the reason why he is here, why he is in limbo and his soul wanders alone in this place. Why was I such an idiot? If only I had acted at the right time, they would be alive and none of this would have happened. He stopped screaming and fell to his hands and knees. I really deserve to be here. I deserve to suffer alone and pay for my sins. He shed tears of helplessness again. Laughter spread around him, causing the honey-eyed man to instantly stand up and wipe away his tears with his forearm. He was immediately on alert, his eyes narrowed to see better through the mist. You don't have to be so self-deprecating, young man, a woman's voice said. Issei's eyes narrowed even further as he continued searching for the source of the voice. He saw in the distance a small, dark, faint silhouette slowly approaching him, growing larger as it moved. Don't worry. I won't hurt you, Issei-kun. The woman's strange voice continued. The brunette was surprised to hear his name from this woman, knowing that she knew him from somewhere and that, for obvious reasons, this woman wasn't a lost soul from this place, which means that this woman is alive and somehow managed to travel to this plane. This set off alarm bells in his head. The woman's silhouette became increasingly more visible and clearer, allowing us to see the entire figure that was still hidden by the fog. Who are you? And why won't you let me see you? Issei demanded. As I told you, Issei-kun, I'm not your enemy. I just came to help you. Taking a step forward to reveal herself to Issei. The moment the brunette got a clear look at the woman, he could only stand in awe at her enormous beauty. If Issei is honest with himself, he'd say this woman would compete for a spot in the top 10 of the most beautiful and sexiest women he's ever seen. If Issei were to exaggerate, She might be one of the most beautiful women in the world. Her features are delicate, and at the same time seemed as if they would break with the softest of touches. Her skin is as pale as the snow that covers the limbo area. Her figure shows youth by being a perfect hourglass, her breasts firm and round reaching an F cup, her waist narrow, her hips wide and seductive, her legs long and creamy, her white hair that reaches her thighs and her aquamarine eyes that shine with such intensity. Wearing a tight black dress that highlights all her curves, strapless, very low cut, and with a duck neck cut that leaves her legs visible, with a pair of black high heels and a choker of the same color. Issei couldn't take his eyes off the beautiful and imposing woman, as her presence alone commanded a demeanor of elegance, beauty, wisdom, tranquility, and absolute respect. Certainly all the qualities of a goddess. "You like what you see, don't you, Issei-kun?" She smiled mischievously. Regaining his composure somewhat awkwardly, Issei heard the soft laughter of that beauty shortly after. He swallowed a bit of saliva to speak, opening and closing his mouth repeatedly without any sound coming out. "I'll take that as a yes." The white-haired girl laughed softly again. She then looked at Issei seriously, sending a slight shiver down his spine. "Well, it's time to talk about the reason for my presence, Issei-kun," paying his full attention to what the woman standing in front of him was going to say, remaining silent so she could speak without interruption. "I'll get straight to the point, so don't interrupt me. Okay?" She watched the brunette nod somewhat skeptically. "I'm a guardian of limbo," she said, seeing the honey-eyed man's eyes wide open. "You previously caught my attention, so I've been keeping an eye on you throughout your stay here, and recently, with your latest action, you caused me to choose you, Issei-kun." He was about to express his doubts, but he saved them for the end when he remembered the request the white-haired woman had made. "The reason I chose you would be for several things: your past, the way you died, the feelings you possess, the enormous desire you have to remedy things, and the acceptance of your true regret. All of that caused me to choose you over everyone else here. Answer me, Issei-kun, if I gave you the chance to return to the world of the living, would you accept it?" Observing the honey-eyed man with a curious look, the brunette didn't know how to respond to the question, since he didn't understand what he would gain or what she wanted from him. Despite everything, something inside him told him this woman wasn't lying and was telling the truth. Taking some time to think about his answer, he finally decided what to say. "Yes, but how will you do it?" "Very well, Issei-kun. But before I give you that gift, there's one more thing missing before you can receive my help." "Which?" "Tell me honestly what your heart wants. I can't understand you blinking several times." "Okay, so you understand better, I'll explain how limbo works. As you well know, most lost souls go to this place, so this place tests those souls so they can rest in peace. But for that, two essential things are needed. 1. The soul must know why it's here, and 2. It must know what its heart wants. Of course, this isn't so easy, due to the multiple obstacles they face, such as the feeling of loneliness and the cold that increases as time passes and accelerates as they think more about their agony, losing themselves, the lack of information, the fog that prevents them from locating other lost souls and forces them to be alone, among other things. The honey-eyed man was finally able to find out what this place does, seeing that Travis was able to rest in peace for accomplishing those two things. Now he just needs to know that he wants her heart so he can return to life. But that he wants her heart exactly. "I don't know," with a sigh. "That's why I came to help you. It'll be faster that way, don't you think?" "Yes, but how exactly will you help me?" Like this, snapping his fingers. Immediately, the entire space began to distort, shifting into a completely dark space. A light appeared where the white-haired woman was standing. She closed her eyes for a moment because of the enormous light, whose intensity hurt her vision. Upon opening his eyes, he was stunned by what he saw, as he found himself looking at his house where he lived with Rius. He stated that it was his house because of the paintings, ornaments, and furniture that adorned the entire house. Exploring the entire house, he noticed that there are several photographs where he, Rius, and a child very similar to Rius are. Other than that, everything remains or continued the same as he remembered. Throughout her exploration, she never found anyone else, until she heard the front door open. Running quickly to the door, her eyes instantly began to water at the sight of the person standing in front of her. "Rius, is that you?" "Of course, darling. Who else could it be?" She laughed tenderly. She watched as the brunette slowly approached her and hugged her with all his might while she cried. Darling? Are you okay? She worried and hugged him back. Issei couldn't believe it. The woman he always wanted to live for and is deeply in love with is here, alive and hugging him too. Rius, 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 Rius. You're alive, burying her head in the redhead's shoulder. Alive? She smiled softly. Of course I'm alive, dear. Don't worry, you probably had a nightmare. After all, you were asleep before I left. She stroked her husband's hair to relax him. But you had died, and not just you, but also Kiba-kun, Gasper-kun, Kuroka-chan, and our baby shedding more tears. Shhhh, relax. They're fine. Look, why don't you take a look behind me? She stops hugging the brunette while giving him a bright smile and a quick kiss. Oh, okay, dear, looking behind her and being shocked again, since in front of him were Kiba, Gasper, Lefay, Kuroka, and above all behind Kuroka he saw a 3-year-old boy. You saw, honey. Everyone's fine, even our little one. Looking towards the boy's position. Come, Hiro-kun. Come and say hi to your Ota-san. Following the boy with her eyes as he ran towards Issei while laughing. Then she saw Issei, who was tense. Placing a hand on his shoulder and whispering, Calm down, it was just a nightmare. Causing him to relax and extend his arms towards the boy with a huge smile, while a tear escaped him. Tu-chan, Tu-chan. I missed you so much. Look, Kuro-san gave me this. Showing her a small bracelet. Isn't it pretty? Stopping and tilting her head in confusion, since she saw how her father was crying. Tu-chan, are you okay? Yes, I saw, it's very nice, and don't worry, my boy. I just missed you a lot, hugging him tighter. Okay, but don't cry anymore, because when you cry you make me sad, Tu-chan. She wiped his tears with her small hands and gave him a tender kiss on the forehead. So, don't cry anymore, and instead, help us with the bags, there are a lot of them. She laughed. Okay, I'll help you right now, walking towards the others and picking up some bags while thinking I think it was all a bad dream. Don't get excited, Issei-kun. It was all just an illusion of mine, the woman said. The area distorted again as it returned to the same dark place. The white-haired beauty appeared again in front of the honey-eyed man. The brunette couldn't help but shed another tear for having had his loved ones with him, even for a moment. He wiped the drop of water away with his fingertips. He was angry at the woman for filling him with false joy and hope, only to cruelly crush him by telling him it was all an illusion on her part. Gritting his teeth, he forced himself to relax before confronting this woman. Why do you give me so much joy? You're going to cruelly take it away from me. Don't be confused, closing his eyes. What do you mean? He arched an eyebrow, momentarily forgetting his anger. I didn't fill you with hope or take away your joy. I simply showed you what you possibly could have had, but that you lost it to a woman's lustful desires. He opened his eyes and they briefly turned blood red, but then returned to their natural color. Issei didn't quite understand what this beauty was referring to, unable to discover which woman she was referring to, until brown hair and violet eyes came to mind. Venolana, Issei thought, his eyebrows furrowing in anger, his mind rising just by thinking about that deranged woman. Judging by your expression, you've already figured out what I'm talking about. Right. Without receiving a response from the young man. But to be more certain, let's see how you react to his presence. The white-haired woman thought. A dim white light emerged surrounding the woman. Shortly after, a woman who was quite hated by the brown-haired woman was found. The young honey-eyed man never noticed the light that had appeared and the new presence in front of him, because he always had his eyes closed in anger. Hello, my love, Vanilla spoke. What? Her eyes immediately opened, her anger rising even further. You. She pointed at Venolana with her finger. That's right, dear. It's me, smiling sweetly. You took my family away from me. Looking at her with as much anger as he could muster, Venolana just kept smiling sweetly, not caring what Issei felt towards her. Come on, honey. Don't be mad at me. In fact, if you want, you and I can have another child. Or a girl. Whichever you prefer? She placed a finger on her lips and assumed a thoughtful posture. Shut up, Issei whispered, or both. Anyway. After all, we'll be together forever, and no one can take our love away from us. Placing her hand on his chest, right over his heart, she sighed longingly. Shut up! The brunette whispered a little louder. Can you imagine? You and I surrounded by beautiful children, both of us so happy together. The honey-eyed man could no longer contain his rage, feeling something inside him break into 1,000 pieces and softly hearing the words revenge in his ear. Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! He lunged at Venolana, but vanished into white smoke as he touched and passed through her. A melodious laugh sounded, and Issei turned towards the source of the laughter, discovering it was the white-haired woman. His surroundings distorted again, and he returned to the snowy forest and the white sky. Now tell me, Issei-kun, what does your heart want? Smiling gently and waiting for the honey-eyed man's answer. Revenge. Revenge on all those who made me and my loved ones suffer. Are you sure? The white-haired beauty asked once more. Yes, absolutely sure, woman smiling sinisterly. Excellent. I have nothing left to say, but it's now time for you to get your revenge, Issei-kun. Issei smiled at those words and couldn't deny that he was too eager to make that revenge come true, but something that still intrigued him was knowing the name of this splendid woman with whom he could make his wish come true. But despite everything, you've never answered my initial question. Who are you? He looked at her with utmost seriousness. The woman just covered her mouth with her hand and chuckled. You're so daring and desperate, aren't you? Chuckling again, not caring about the brunette's seriousness. Just answer, woman, looking at her even more seriously than before. The white-haired girl laughed again, but this time openly. Her laughter subsided shortly after. You're very funny, Issei-kun, ignoring the slight twitch of Issei's eyebrow. You're quite irritating sometimes, you know that? Just answer. The beauty just covered her mouth with her hand again and laughed lightly. Calm down, Issei-kun. Please don't ruin this beautiful lady's mood. Even so, I don't think I'll ever get bored with you. But all right, I'll oblige you by answering that question. She gave a beautiful smile and a slight bow of introduction. My name is. He slowly opened his eyes, the color of his irises changing for a moment from blood red to its usual black color, and finishing the white-haired girl's sentence.
Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.